she developed a youth program called the Journey to Redirection. This program aims to help young people learn about their true identities, face past trauma, and love themselves from the inside out. Throughout her journey, Shereena has remained steadfast in her faith and committed to paying forward all the blessings she has received. Her confidence program has served as an inspiration to many, and she continues to act as a role model for those following in her footsteps. So without further ado, y'all, please make some noise for Shereena! Yes, girl, she's giving the catwalk. Come on now. It's giving, y'all. Yes. We're so excited to have you. And last but not least, we want to make some noise for our host pastor. He is a CEO, a pastor, a motivational speaker. He does it all, y'all. So without further ado, let's make some noise for Pastor Samuel.
How y'all doing?
Hey, good.
We need better energy than that, guys.
Woo! Woo!
Do we all have water? Yeah, water. We got water. All right, guys. Welcome to Relationship Essentials. This is actually our first time going live on YouTube. Typically, we like to record and edit, but we figured we just keep it raw, so we can't edit anything you say. Just say. But anyways, thank you guys for coming out. We do this once a month, third Fridays of the month, and our goal is to kind of create an environment where Christians, especially young believers, can talk relationships. We started this probably 6-7 years ago, and the reason for starting it was when I became a pastor. I was 24 years old when I became a pastor, and a lot of people that came to the church were young people, and typically, young people have a lot of raging hormones and emotions, and a young man had asked me a relationship question, and I figured, why don't we start a small group where we can just have relationship conversations without the pressure of judgment, because I feel like sometimes the church don't want to talk about certain things because they are afraid of how they will look. Maybe if I say I was horny, then I'm not holy enough, or I wasn't Holy filled, or something like that. So we kind of created this environment. And when we started it, we didn't think it would become something that's become so serious as this now. It would be like just a bunch of young people at Applebee's. We started at Applebee's, and we just have conversations, rack up the bill, and go home. And during the pandemic, we decided to turn it into a podcast. And it's been good. We've had a lot of amazing guests on the shows, and today we get to have Pastor Dan and Shereena, right? And I was telling Pastor Daniel that it's amazing that this is our first time meeting in person.
Wow.
And we've probably heard of each other for 5-6 years now.
Wow.
I think there was a year where Ezekiel did your event or my event. Was it your event? Was it young people? Literally, Ezekiel did my event, and the next day did his event. It's crazy that we have him, but it's just that he's so busy. I think he just had a men conference 2 weeks ago, or is it 2 weeks or 3 weeks ago?
Yeah, 4 weeks ago.
4 weeks ago, and I heard it was amazing. I couldn't go because I wasn't in town, but I definitely wanted to come out. He does a lot of good work, and what I love is that he's young. A lot of times we're getting relationship advice from people we feel like we cannot relate to, and it doesn't sink in the way it should sink in, because they don't understand my struggles.
Yeah.
But being that he's young, he's doing a lot of great stuff. He's married, he has a daughter, and it's amazing, man. Thank you for coming, man.
Awesome.
Question: is my microphone going to go in and out? Because I don't want my microphone going in and out. So if we have to get a battery, please. I don't want my microphone going in and out. All right, Shereena. It's good. We met in February when we did. Oh no, not March. We met in March, and she does a lot. Funny thing, I remember the first time she came to church. One of my pastors was like, "Oh, I know her. I'm like, where you know her from?" Or that she had signed up for one of your modeling classes.
Wow.
If I sign up, will I get paid? I only want to do gigs that pay me.
You gotta put in the work first.
I didn't work already.
That's why the casting directors love you.
But no, she does a lot of amazing work with modeling. She teaches people. She even does like, her thing is just not local. She does national. Like she was just in Miami, you know, kind of coaching people how to walk. You know, I think when you don't do something, you don't understand how intricate and how hard it is. And like when I think about model, I'm like, yo, just walk. But clearly they gotta coach. And she's.
I feel like it's a sport. Like I feel like they should really make it a sport because it really is.
Yeah, I don't think so. I don't agree with you on that one. There's a lot of things that make sport. I'm like, why is that a sport? Like the other day I found out they made the cornhole thing.
Yeah.
They turned it into a sport. Did you know that was a sport?
They should definitely make modeling a sport.
Yeah, I don't know about that. I don't know, but she does a lot of good work and she's so helpful. The reason we actually met was when we had Sinach in March. She wanted to help us promote and sell tickets, and I'm like, that's amazing for someone that doesn't know us. Just wanted to come out and help. So thank you for helping. And she always finds ways to bring value for our upcoming conference. She already we spoke already and how she intends to bring value to us. So just everywhere she goes, she tries to bring value, and I love that. I love that her life is about giving, and most of us always say that most people focus on getting, and when you meet people that are devoting their lives to giving and serving, it's something that's admirable. So I love that about our two amazing guests. Like the shouts and the claps seem so fake, but I'm never gonna talk about that.
Thank you, Pastor.
But one of the things that I don't typically give the guests questions. I remember when she asked me, "Oh, do I get questions?" I'm like, "No, I want you to talk from your heart," because we don't want it to seem rehearsed or just tell you what you want to hear. And we try to pick people that will tell you the truth. So we don't want someone that's just gonna come and tell you just love Jesus, and you're like, I already love him, right? But we want to talk about practical things and things that everybody could relate to, and things that probably we all have struggled with at some point or currently struggling with, that maybe the conversation will shed some light and kind of help you through this season. Because ultimately, one of the things that have inspired us to do this is the fact that when you look at the statistics with the marriages failing out there in the world and the marriages failing in the church, is very identical. They say about 50% of marriages out there in the culturally fail. And most marriages in the church are failing. I remember when you go to church, most people, there's more women than men in the church because most kids are being raised by a single mom. So don't die in silence. I was listening to I'm reading this book called Mere Christianity by C.S. Lewis, and one of the things he talked about, the scripture says that the devil is a roaring lion, and when you look at how lions hunt prey that are in isolation, and I think that's one of the ways the enemy tries to get us to fight our battles secretly. That way nobody can help you, no one knows you're struggling, and you're dying silently. And the goal is, again, don't be afraid to ask questions. If you want to ask questions, you can come up, give you the microphone, you can ask questions. Or you can just raise your hand and you can write it down. Did everybody get one of those form cards? So you can either ask the question by writing it down if you're shy. But if you're not shy, you can come up and ask your question. Our goal is by the end of the night, most of your questions when it comes to relationship and doing it God's way will be answered. Thank you. All right, so let's get started. So something that I wish the church taught me about dating. First question I have for y'all. When you first started dating, where did you learn it from? Like the first time you went, what was your first tutor, or who was your first tutor? Was it from the church or was it from the secular world? The question is, so think about the first time you started dating or engaging in something with the opposite sex. Did you learn that from someone in the church, or did you learn that from culture, maybe TV, friends, or whatever?
I would say TV.
TV?
Yeah.
Same. And I think that kind of sheds light to the conversation that we're having, right? Because relationships are they are so consequential to our lives. I heard someone say that the most important decision we make in life is obviously who we decide to serve, who we worship, or your salvation. And then they said the next most important decision that you would make is who you get married to. So if in his book Relational Intelligence, Darius Daniel, he said, I love Darius, I love him. I love Darius Daniel. He's probably invite him for next year's conference. But Darius Daniel in his book Relational Intelligence says that relationship will be your greatest source of joy and it will also be your greatest source of pain. And my thing has always been, if relationships are so consequential, why are we learning about relationship from the world and not the church? If this thing affects our lives so much, why is the church letting us go out there to learn it? Because most people that you ask, their answer is, I learned about dating, I learned about sex, I learned about the opposite sex from someone that was not in the church. So why do you think the church doesn't have that conversation with us?
I feel like they might not want to, get people's imagination going. I don't know. Maybe it's like a way of like covering, sheltering, the kids, the youth from going out. Because, kids, once you tell them something, they're curious. So maybe that's their way of
Yeah, I agree with her. I think that, one, I like to first define the church.
Church are the believers.
Okay, so because the reason why I said that is because I kind of hear that a lot with everything, right? The church, It's kind of like, man, the church is really terrible. And then we look at it and we realize it's really us. It's everybody sitting here right now, right? And so, and sometimes when we talk about the church, we're looking at the older folks and saying they are the church and it's their fault. But before those people who are now old, at some point they were young and they were complaining. And the people right now who are listening to this, who are younger right now, will be pastors and ministers who are going to grow old and their congregation is going to be complaining. And so the point is that I think that one of the ways for us even actually fix this is what we're doing right now. That is getting the conversation going among the young people. Because we are going to be, they said we're the leaders of tomorrow, right? And so I think a lot of times we wait to get to this, to get to a position before we start doing things, right? But we can start it now. So that's, great job, great work for that, for putting this together. I think the second thing is that, the churches in general has just never been the best place for learning any kind of relationship, besides relationship with God. I honestly think that we stress so much the spiritual aspect of our being, and the vertical relationship with God, and we're so terrible at the horizontal. And it's not just in dating. I mean, talk about friendship in church. I mean, talk about it's just really bad, right? And so I think that in general, the church has just never been great with relationships, and that's because again we don't embrace the human aspect of our being. We have three dimensions: spirit, we have our soul, which has our emotions, our will, and our mind, and then we have our flesh, our body. And I think we have to embrace that because we kind of demonize it. See, the moment we accept that, then conversations like this can actually become acceptable. If someone says I'm on it, you don't demonize it now, right? Because it's not like I give myself this body. Like God created me with all of this stuff. So I'm supposed to have emotions. I'm supposed to have these desires, right? So I think that we have first ways to, we can to just stop demonizing the human aspect of our being. We are supposed to be this way. Now let's help you manage it.
All right, so let's get into it. So what is something that I agree with you, by the way, and I agree with you. I think sometimes my response to that is when they are afraid to start the conversation because they are afraid, oh, I don't want to expose them to this corrupt thing. Like, they're already exposed. Like, it's everywhere. It's on TV, it's in the music.
It's the
like
parents, too.
Ignorance, right? And then we have people that act like we're just spiritual beings and not acknowledge the physical aspect of our beings. So what is something that you wish church taught you about dating? Something you wish the church. Look, let's be real here. Let's keep it real. Don't give me the fluffy, nice stuff. What is something like? And I want us to be very. I want look. The way I always think about things is this, right? I always say, God puts us in position to help people and to solve problems. I always call it the purpose is double P's: people and problems, problems and people. When I think about the conversations that we have on this platform, I always think about it as we are helping someone with a problem, right? So think about maybe something that you've struggled with, something that you know someone is struggling with, that you're like, man, I wish the church taught me about this, and I didn't have to go out there to learn it. So what is something, again, that you wish the church taught you about dating? You probably know it now, but you wish the first time. Yeah, it doesn't matter who goes. It doesn't matter who goes first.
So there's a couple of things, and we're gonna get to them.
Yeah.
I think one, attraction.
What about attraction?
Again, I believe that life is connected. So a lot of the things
Yeah.
I'm gonna say, you're gonna see that they actually are connected.
Okay.
All right, it's gonna bring us back to again embracing the human aspect of our being.
Mm-hmm.
All right. A lot of people, feel like they're supposed to be attracted to one person. Like I'm only supposed to be attracted to a single person, just one. Now, many people wish, not just me, that they were told that you could be attracted to a lot of people. Right.
The people that you think, again, I don't mean to cut you off. I'm gonna play the devil's advocate a lot tonight, and a lot of the guests sometimes they get on the hot seat, but my intention is not to put anyone on the hot seat. I want to understand. I always would like to put myself in the position of the audience. Right? I never felt like I needed to be attracted to one person. I feel like maybe So I wish from like, do you feel like when you were growing up that you should be attracted to one person? Because I never felt like that.
I think at some point I did surprise myself because I thought I was supposed to be attracted
To one person.
Now,
So you feel like there's one person for you. Is it there's one person for me, or if I'm attracted to more than one? Because remember, we grew up you watch some of our grandfathers, they were married to 5, 6 wives. I mean, I'm like, yo, Solomon had 1,000.
so it's not in regards to like one person for me. I'm talking about just attraction now.
Attraction, okay.
So I think that the moment you realize, wait, I was actually attracted to that person.
Okay.
Now, instead of, because I didn't have someone to let me know that that's normal.
Okay, all right.
I
get it
started
now.
to demonize myself. See, a lot of the things that many people who are living in condemnation right now, it's because no one has told them what's normal.
Yeah,
If you don't know what's normal, you're gonna panic at everything every little thing that doesn't add up.
that's true.
And so I felt like, oh, I must be terrible. I must be a child of the devil. Now, if someone had told me, hey, human nature in general, you are gonna be attracted to a lot of things. It's about how you manage your attraction.
That's a good one. I like that.
You see, these are conversations that we should have in church. But most of us are told, no, you should only be attracted to your wife or to whoever you're with, right? Again, there's levels to attraction too. There's sexual, there's emotional. Again, we can break it down. But I'm just saying, in general, there are people who are, in course of their relationship, they become emotionally attracted to someone else, right? Again, it's about what you were doing with the stuff. So we're told if you're attracted to something, also go for it. And then you learn, no, you shouldn't go for things you're attracted to, all things that you're attracted to, right? I mean, you walk through the mall all the time. You don't buy everything that you attracted to. All right. So again, they are very small things. It's not like big stuff, but those little things, because there was no one to just tell me and say, hey, human nature, you are going to be attracted to a lot of things. So it's important that you start to train yourself now how to manage that. Because the opposite of that is you're going to think you are not supposed to, and when you do, you're going to demonize yourself.
I think to add to that, I'm not sure if you have something. If you want to jump in anytime, please jump in. But something to add to what you just said is, I think for me, I said I grew up in church, but I always say there's a point. Growing up in church doesn't mean you are living for Christ, right? It doesn't mean that you understand fully what kingdom living is supposed to be. So when you mention that there are a lot of things that it's normal, but someone can condemn themselves because they feel that way. I remember having a conversation with a friend of mine, and he asked me, this was when I was coming out of college, he asked me, do you think you could be faithful in a relationship? And prior to that question, I don't think I've had like I've not had like a candid conversation with like a mentor, but I always feel like, man, I'm attracted to so many women. I don't know if I could be faithful because like the attraction is like, man, every time I leave my house, I find someone else I'm attracted to, right? It sounds so casual, but for me, it was the thing that I had to think about until where the Bible tells us, which is now coming to understand the scriptures, the Bible tells us, hey, look, we are not tempted beyond that which we desire, right? And I think this is leading to my main point now, that something that you said. I don't think the church tells us that sin is fun. They make sin look bad. And then when you're doing sinful things, you're like, yo, this is good. No, like, can we talk about that? Because I'm like, yo, like, it comes out as if people look at, oh, he's an addict. I'm like, have we talked about why he's addicted to porn? Porn, do you think if people watch porn and they got blind, they would keep watching it? Do you think if people watched porn and it was something bad happened to them immediately? Like, I think one of the things for me growing up in church is the made sin look like it was so bad that, oh, just avoid it is bad. But then when you see other people that are sinning, they're enjoying their sin. And you're like, maybe let me enjoy small.
You mean sin or sex? Or is it?
Like sin, like even people that do drugs, they don't do the drugs because they think it's bad for them. They don't start off thinking, wow, this drug is so horrible for me, I'm gonna do this drug because it's bad for me. Most of them take it because it makes me calm, it makes me sleep, it gives me peace, it makes me excited to party, it makes me lose. Like, they attach some kind of good to their sin.
Yeah,
right? So that's the point I want to make. For me, I think growing up in church is like, man, sin looks so boring and so bad that when you finally sin, it's like, wow, this is fun. So I think, like you said, teaching that, man. So what I've come to understand about like the whole fun and how it's bad for me, what I've come to learn is that most of our desires, like I always reference Michael Todd. He said sin is a legitimate need that is being satisfied by an illegitimate means. Like, so sin is the things that you're desiring. Like, I want to have sex, I want money, I want women. Those things are things that God wants me to have. Don't make me look bad for wanting it. Just show me how to get it the right way. Because the wrong way is what makes it sin. The right way makes it pure.
One of the things I would say, I wish the church told me or taught me, just boundaries and what love really is. Because, my home life wasn't the best. Seeing my mom arguing all the time, seeing her, get hit sometimes. It's like, then you start to accept that, like, oh, it's okay. That means he loves me, or that means this and that. But I feel like I wish the church would have taught me boundaries or what love, because, things would happen at home. My stepdad would do certain things and my mom would take them right back. I'm like, dang, like, oh, they must really love each other, And then next thing you know, you're accepting that in relationships. You're just, oh, he just loves me that much, or, you know what I'm saying?
I do agree with you. And I want to ask you a question. What was your definition of love when you were ignorant? When you were growing up, just watching the toxic things at home? What was your definition of love then? And now that you've matured, what is now your definition of love? What do you think is the right definition of love?
Back then, control. I feel like
you thought love was control?
when growing up.
That's crazy.
I
It's
did.
real.
I thought that if, a man, basically controls you, because that's what I saw at home. And my mom's, she's a strong woman and she took it, so that's my, not idol, but that's my mentor. That's someone I look up to.
Yeah.
So I received that. But now, that's a good question. I'm still trying to figure it out.
Okay, well, we're gonna help you guys. So,
Still figuring it out.
because what I've learned is, so it was when I started relationship essentially that I started researching what love is, right? Because a lot of times, like, when you're messing with a girl, she's like, yo, do you love me? You're like, I guess. or whatever it is, right? They like for me, I'm very like cerebral. Like I'm like, yo, what is love? Like, what is love? So, let's help clarify what is love. What is you're a pastor? You counsel people. You've dealt with a lot of married people. What is the right lens that someone should see love through? What is your definition of love?
Love is a decision, but it has a feeling.
Okay.
See,
A decision, what? I'm sorry.
Love is a decision,
Decision.
but it has a feeling. So most people say love is a feeling. Some people say love is a decision. I'm saying it's a decision, but it actually feels. You know, you don't. I mean, just again, the only way to define love is to point it back to God, right?
Yeah.
For God to love the world, that He gave
Mhm.
us His Son, right? He decided, right, before He was already decided, before we were born, before we were even committing sin, before any of our actions, He decided that He was going to love us.
Yeah.
And so, love is not a feeling because feelings comes and go.
Yeah.
And look at watch this. The Bible says that love your enemies. If love was a feeling, there is no way God would say love your enemies.
Yeah. It's a choice.
I mean, it's impossible,
It's a choice. Yeah.
right? So He didn't say trust your enemies. He said there's a difference between love and trust.
Yeah.
Because trust requires you collecting data,
Yeah.
right? You need to see something to be able to trust someone. But God is saying, regardless of what you see and what you don't see, just love. So love is a decision, right? But it can have feelings. And so, and there are times when decision and feelings may not be on the same page. That's kind of what leads to a lot of like divorce, like relationship issues. Because when people say, well, if I'm not feeling it, then I have to decide what I feel. But decisions and feeling are not always on the same page. There are times when you decide things but you don't feel like. Sometimes I don't feel like going to work, but I go. And so there are times when you may be married, and you may not feel like being married, but you still have to
Make the commitment.
commitment. And so I think that we have to redefine love, and also we also have to point people to the source of love. And I know we say, oh, God is love, but look at, I mean, I've joined this year, long before couples, 5 last year. I have 3 more weddings to officiate this year, but it's when I do, I always say something at each wedding ceremony, and this is what I say. We're in a culture now that celebrates love, not God. And the Bible says that God is love. Wherever there's God, there is love. And so what we have done is we've attempted to pursue one without the other. And we've tried to separate love from God. And so if you notice, the whole world actually loves love, but not everybody loves Jesus. And that's the source of every problem we're seeing, because we're attempting to get something without the source itself. And the Bible says that love comes from God. And this is kind of how that manifests in our lives. Because love comes from God. Which means that if someone says they love you and they disappoint you, they actually have not done anything wrong. Why? Because they love you with their own love. We have to be connected to the source of love. And so if you tell someone I love you, and I don't think everyone who says they love them and they messed up, I don't think everyone is a liar. I honestly I do think that some people at some point, they were honest about when they said I love you.
Yeah.
They were just trying to give you a love that came from them. And if it's from you, you're gonna run out. And so I think that even me being married, I've constantly had to connect with God, and it's to refuel, because your love cannot love someone for 30 years. It's impossible. Your man is not bad, and your wife is not bad. It's because they're trying to love you with your own love. If it's the love of God, it's eternal.
Yeah.
And that kind of love, you gotta stay plugged into God. And so when someone says, I love you, you say, okay, do you know God? It's your love from God.
Let's give him a hand for that definition of love. Can we make sure that we have 2 questions on the right side? But before we ask, right, I'm just gonna kind of add a little bit to what Pastor have said, because I do think that if we don't have, they say, beliefs control behavior, right? What I believe control how I behave, and the way we define things ultimately have a say in how we behave around that thing and stuff. So I think, First of all, what he said that I love is the fact that people that tell you they love you, they're loving you based on their definition of love. So they say love is as good as the person giving it. The reason why the first source of love should be God is because he lives in heaven in a place of all unlimited resources. So he doesn't have limit in how he can love us. One definition that I've learned that I think could probably help someone in the room is this. I learned it from Miles Monroe, and he said that love is the understanding and your response to the value of a thing or a person. Right now, think about it. Love is when you understand and then respond to the value of a person or a thing. So, like he talked about, right? The easiest way to understand anything is always go back to the scriptures. How do we know God loves us? He didn't just tell us he loves us. He said, man, I understand your value, and this is my response. I will send my son to die in place for you. So he showed you how much he valued you. And if we are being honest with ourselves, think about what you love more than the other. If you have a Toyota and a Lamborghini, why do we typically love Lamborghinis more than Toyotas? The value around it. It gets you more women, it gets you more attention, it costs more money. So our love is always tied to value. That is why even when Jesus was teaching the disciples, he said, hey, look, where a man's treasure is, that is where his heart will be. What is our heart? Our heart is what we love from. He said, man, what has your heart is what you treasure. Whatever you don't treasure doesn't have your heart. So from scriptures, from our own experiential proof, we've learned that love is when I understand the value and then I respond appropriately to it. So someone that doesn't understand your value doesn't mean you're not valuable. It just means they don't understand it and they're responding to you based on their understanding of your value. That is why the first thing that you need to accomplish before you date is to, first of all, establish your value by establishing an intimacy with God, because God gives you the right value. If you rely on a man to give you value, he's going to say, man, you're beautiful. They say if you're going to live for men's accolades, you're going to die by their rejections. So when a man builds you up, a man can tear you down. Yeah. But when God tells you, hey, you're beautiful, you're worthy, you're gifted, it doesn't matter what anybody else says because they don't give you value. God gives value, and people are supposed to respond to that value from God's lens. But if somebody's responding to your value based on their flesh, they will never really respond appropriately to something that God has deemed priceless.
And just to tie it back to, again, I like to be consistent.
Yeah.
It's to tie us back to, again, not demonizing ourselves or feeling like we're bad people when we can love people. Again, because we don't want to keep recreating what happened at Garden of Eden, where we run away and go hide. Mm-hmm. And that's what's going on. And I think it's because people don't know. I know married men who are like, I don't know, I just don't feel like I love my wife anymore. And they are like so ashamed, and they feel like they're a terrible person and they're bad people. And I said, no, you are not bad. Actually, you've been human. You've run out of your own love. You got to get you back connected to the source. Right? And so people are disappointed when they run out. Mm-hmm. They run out. We all have a tendency to run out of whatever that we manufacture ourselves. So again, just in case there's anyone watching online, I just always want to just say again, I don't want you to go hiding somewhere saying to yourself, because once you live in condemnation, God can't really do much. You know.
Before we're gonna take the questions, but one question that I want us to address after we answer, I don't want to forget this. I want to put it out there, because one of the things that we've heard a lot is I felt out of love. So now that we have the right framework to understand love, let's address why there's no such thing as falling out of love, right? But someone had a question. I saw two hands. I know I saw two hands.
It wasn't a question. It was kind of picking back up on what you said.
Okay. Is the microphone on? Just...
No. I feel like love is a feeling, and I feel like you said that people leave after 30 years or something like that. I feel like for a woman, for example, they leave when they're mentally done, but I feel like you can't stop loving someone. It only weakens. And I forgot what else I was going to say, but I do feel like love is a feeling. Like,
So, question. I wanna understand you. Are you disagreeing with the definition of love? So you're saying love is a feeling and not a decision?
Because
Okay.
even though, like, I just got out of a relationship, even though I'm not in that relationship no more with that person, I still have love for that person, and I still care for him, and I still want the best for him, you know? I just choose not to be in that relationship no more because I choose not to settle anymore. So I still have feelings for him. So I feel like love is a feeling.
Can I respond to that?
Yeah, 100%.
Okay. So, again, I understand. I think all throughout my life, it's always been a back and forth. And I said it earlier. There are people who lean more towards decisions, some people lean more towards feeling. It's a back and forth. If you look online right now, you're probably going to see 50-50. But we have to define love based on God. I understand that's how you feel, and that's how you're defining it. But if God was to love you the way you just described, you might not make it to next year. If every time God feels a way, you do something wrong, it feels bad, and that time is His action towards you, you might not make it. So God has decided about us.
Yeah.
There are days where God is not happy about some things you do, but He's still decided and committed to you. And so, I think our definition of love, it's the problem, it's the reason why marriages are failing. I'll tell you this, let me give you an illustration, right, real quick. Two co-workers, they work for an institution or a company. They both have different roles, but they're supposed to work together. They got into an argument, a fight. Guess what? They both showed up to work the next day. Why? They are committed to the company. Now, they don't feel each other, but they have a job to do. That's how God intends for the institution of marriage to be. Well, we remain decided because the institution is bigger than both of us. So the reason why we fail is because our definition of love is focused more on just the person and not necessarily about a commitment to an institution of marriage. And so, people would say, I love you. I'm like, yeah, you love me, but do you also love the institution of marriage? Because if it's all based on me, the moment I'm not acting right, you're going to leave. But I need someone who can also love the institution of marriage because I'm always going to be inconsistent. And so just like that co-worker, the day where we are not feeling each other, we understand the business still has to run. The kids have to eat. We have to take out the garbage. We have to do what I have a responsibility to you as a husband. You have a responsibility to me as a wife. I don't feel it, but I'm still decided. And I think that I understand what she said. It's based on me, but based on God's definition, love is a decision, right? And that's why we fail, and that's why we struggle, because again, you won't really understand this until you're on the other end of this, and someone one day feels away and they say, I'm done with you. And you're like,
okay. I know he had a question. You had a question or you had a comment? If you could use the microphone so we can cap.
Both, I guess.
All right, so go ahead. We'll listen. And also, before you go, right, one of the things I encourage in this environment is don't be afraid to voice your opinion, right? We all want to learn from each other, right? But what I also encourage, and as much as we open it up, is also have an open mind, right? Have an open mind. There's a possibility you could be right, but there's also a possibility you could be wrong. And if we all have the attitude of a student, we all can leave here better than we came in. Go ahead.
I guess there was things that you guys mentioned or talked about.
Yes.
One of the first, nothing things immediate, I guess, at least, but it's just a thought that you said like one of the things that the church never taught us, as or you wish you taught us, was that people that love never lasts. This is what my definition of love is. And this is why I agree that love is a feeling and not a decision, because what the church taught us is, as we grow up with our families, and the relationships, that you kind of thought that everybody was in a perfect relationship, whether or not there was things going at home. We normally didn't see that, and the church represented that or showed that. You have one wife, you go out, you get married once, you meet one woman, and that's kind of what the church, I can believe, idolized, I should say, or showed. But what they never showed was the background behind that, the hard times, the things that people were going through, the struggles. And, fast forward in today's society, that's more shown that, relationships don't normally last. And is that in the church's eyes anymore? When you have people going through relationships and, they're having intercourse and they're doing things and, just to find a feeling of love. So all I have to say is that I do believe that love is a feeling, but it's also a feeling that that as you grow through life, you more understand things. You said that, like when we fall short, we always should go back to the Bible. Mm-hmm. And, sometimes when I go back to the Bible, when you realize things, you kind of sort of realize that, was that love? Was I really getting loved, or was that a decision that I made? So I feel like love is actually a feeling, but, when you actually love somebody, you would actually know. And the Bible would actually show you and tell you exactly what that love that actually is, rather than just being a decision.
Okay, so just question. What is there any biblical reference that you have to show that love is a feeling and not a decision?
There's no biblical reference, but I should say that there are biblical references that you can refer to what love actually really means.
Can you give me an example?
Maybe like I said, maybe there's one like lean not onto your own understanding.
Mm-hmm.
When sometimes we go through our life understanding thinking what love actually is right now at the moment, and and then God twirls that relationship up, throws it out the garbage. Was that love? No, I should say. But we lean on to our understanding, and then we continue to grow, and we find what our passion of love actually really is. So I feel like love is something that we define over time, and in the presence, we think it's love.
Could you ask I kind of like to hear from the audience.
Yeah.
And
this is why
and
I
I-
can answer
and-
this question.
and I
'Cause
think
I'm trying to
It's
figure
okay.
it out myself.
It's okay.
So I understand what's going on.
Yeah. No, but look though.
understand.
But one thing I'll say, I'll let you ask a question. Right? What I would say is this, right? Like the scripture that you talked about, it said, "Lean not on your own understanding." That means we are not supposed to be the ones defining love, right? So what is you saying that love is a feeling, us saying that love is a decision? None of us is defining it, right? We have to go off of the Bible, right? And if God, think about it, if love is, they say love is the most powerful force on earth. Love is the most powerful force. If love is so powerful that God calls himself love. The creator of the universe said, out of all the names he could pick, he said, I'm love, right? Do you think something so important and so pivotal in our life, do you think God will leave that up for so many interpretations? Don't you think, based on the scriptures, he would have made it very clear, hey, because this thing is so important, I don't want you to be confused on what it is. I'll make it very clear so you know exactly what to look for. And I think the scripture does make it very clear what love is. And before we're going to open it up, I know you want to hear people's take on it, right? If you say love is a feeling, right? I also want us to be honest with ourselves, right? Do you think, and I want to be very practical here, don't give me any holy answers. Do you think you can have feelings for more than one person at a time?
Yeah. But is that love? No.
So based on your definition, love is not a feeling.
No, based on my definition, love is a feeling that grows over time. What we feel at the moment may not be love.
Okay.
Because there are things that there's things that we still have to learn as people and human beings throughout life.
Yeah.
There's a lot of things that I have to go throughout life, to understand the real definition of love.
Okay, can I just pause you for a second, right? Before love is not supposed to be discovered by trial and error. God didn't design for us to discover love by, oh, let me try this, oh, that's not love. Or let's try it, that's not love. He defines it so that we know what to look for when it comes to love, right? So just again, if we're going, part of discovering truth is I always remind people that the most important thing you can discover in life is truth. The second decision you make is where you go to find truth. I'll say that again. The most important thing you will discover in life is truth. That's what the Bible says. You will know the truth, and then the truth sets you free. The most important thing you discover in life is truth. The second best thing you will discover is, where do I go to find truth? Because where you go to matters, right? We go to the scriptures to find what is truth. And the mere fact that we say, hey, I can have feelings for more than one person, that tells me it is not love. Because if I could have more than one, so let's say I'm married, let's use that practical example. Let's make it practical. If I'm married and my love is based on how I feel, and I feel for Simbi, then I feel for Jessica, then I have feelings for I don't know what's that, like Erica. What would make me say what would stop me from sleeping with all of them if I'm just going off of my feelings? What would stop, if let's say I'm married to Simbi, but I have feelings for Jessica and Erica, which he will tell you, most married people tell you, hey, sometimes you will have this attraction to somebody else. If I go off of my feelings, what would stop me from being unfaithful to my husband or my wife? It's the fact that I have to decide, irrespective of how I feel. That is what makes love more than a feeling. But let's hear somebody else. Go ahead.
So, all right. So, I think we all know the definition of love in the Bible. 1 Corinthians 13:4-7. They're more action based, but I also think, is this cutting in and out? Okay. All right. So there are 7 types of love, and I think we have to keep that in mind. So agape love, which is what people, of course, you tie that to God, which is unconditional. And I think one of the things is that if love was merely a feeling, we would all be dead when you think about it, because we have angered God, we have idols in our lives, and when you read the scripture, the end result is that. But because of unconditional love, which is agape love, which is the highest form of love, God has mercy on us. And I think that's why whenever we're talking about love and God's love, you have to connect it to mercy. God has mercy on us each and every day. And I think sometimes we confuse the agape love with Eros love. Eros love is more, it's sexual. And then there's different types of love that you can actually Google. And I think what happens is, on a cultural base, they teach the other types of love versus true agape love, which is Christ. And that is why God's love is free. We don't have to earn it. He loved us prior to us loving him. And I think what's dangerous is if we define love as a mere feeling, then it's naturally going to be connected to our actions. I love my job, I sure do, but I really don't feel like going to work. But I have to make a decision. It was just like the example that was made as far as marriage, but even in relationships and dating, if you allow your emotions to lead, then that is not going to be consistent. It's unstable. And I think we have to be very mindful that we have to be very mindful that our culture has defined love. And if we don't know what to separate and say, okay, like that's a type of love, but agape love is unconditional. And I think until we have a clear definition of the kind of love we refer to, because unconditional love is God. We could have unconditional love for our partners, but we are human beings, so we're gonna have those moments when the person is annoying. We're gonna have those moments where we don't want to be around that person. That is why I feel like marriage is the closest thing for us to see on this earth as Christ loving the church, because you are making a daily decision to love someone even through their sins and their not. Which is why they say marriage is ultimately it's a form of sanctification. You're not supposed to be the same as
All
you
right.
were before. And yeah, and that's it.
All right. If possible, can we give it a hand, please? Can we change the microphone, the battery, that way when they're talking, it doesn't go in and out. But I'll let Pastor give the last take on that, then we're gonna move. We wanna stay on subject tonight, but we wanna make sure we address it. But like I would say, our worldviews, right? Our worldviews it gives birth to our belief system, and there's no belief system that can exist without proof. And that's how I want us to begin to look at our lives. Our worldview is one thing. That's the way I see the world. That's cool. Your worldview gives birth to your belief. This is what I believe. I believe love is this. I believe the sky is blue. I believe the sky is red. I believe this. If there's no evidence, that belief it's not sound. You have to have evidence to make something a belief, to make something concrete. There have to be an evidence. And I think that's how we have to look at anything that we argue, whether it's love, whether it's patience, whatever factor, let's argue from a place of, all right, let's not just give our own opinions, let us try to back it up with facts and evidence and whatnot. So you give the last take, and let's get back to some of the things that we wish the church had have taught us before we started dating or why we started dating.
I mean, really, I think Joy already kind of answered. My whole point was just, if you notice, most people when you ask them what is love, and they say love is a feeling.
Yeah.
There's something that's always consistent, and they say I feel, I think, I believe.
Yeah.
And it's their definition.
Yeah.
So you can't define love outside of God, right? And so it's not more what I think love is. It's what the Bible says love is, right? And so love, and I know why people fight between this decision and feeling, because I know people who are very extreme on the decision that they don't show the actions of love, like they don't have emotions. They're just like, well, I married you. And so they don't show feelings. And so because people are so afraid of that, they're like, no, love is a feeling. It's fear that is kind of motivating a lot of things back and forth. That's why I said that I decided that the best definition, and this is not online, this is my definition. Because I realized some people say it's a feeling, and I said love is a decision that has a feeling. Because I think you should feel something. We have to feel something. Like God feels something for us. But it's feeling towards us that is love. It's a decision. It demonstrated it. And because this wrong definition of love is what it has done. It has made people focus more on the actions of love. Knowing how to open a door, buy flower, go on movies. Look at the different generations. Our parents, the older generations, they were more decision heavy. And that's why there was a lot of abuse. They stayed in abusive relationships because they were so decided that even when they were not happy, they stayed. So divorce was not high, but there was a lot of abuse. In this generation, we are so feeling heavy. It's all about, I don't feel it anymore, we're out. And so divorce rate is high. And what you're saying is two extremes. And it has to be a balance. It's a decision, but we also have to have the right feeling. We should care. We should be honest. We should have empathy. So it's a decision that has a feeling.
Yeah. And just to add to that, I think when a father punishes a child, does it mean the father doesn't love the child? Right? Because I think another aspect which I want to kind of transition into this, right? I think growing up in church is almost as if it wasn't taught, but it was insinuated that, man, you live right so God can love you. Because love was always associated with the good things that God gave us. But we know that now that you're mature in your faith, you're like, man, God can love me and I still don't get what I want. So if God isn't, let's say you're praying for a car, or you're praying for a house, or you're praying for a business deal. Let's say, for example, you have a contract that you're going for as a businessman, or as a businessman or a businesswoman, and you're praying to God, I love you, please help me get the contract. If you don't get that contract, does it mean God doesn't love you anymore? Does it mean that God never loved you? Because when we associate love with good feelings, when we have bad feelings, then we will not call it love. But we know the Bible tells us that, I believe it's John chapter 15, where it says, I am the vine and ye are the branches. And he said, my father is the husbandman, he's the gardener. And what is the father's job? He said, my father looks at the tree, and whatever branch is not bearing fruit, what does the father do? He cuts it off. And then the part that gets me in that scripture, he says, the ones that are bearing fruit, what does he do? He prunes. So in that alone, it begins to, because I think when I was growing up, cause I grew up in the church. My dad is a pastor. My mom is a pastor. So I grew up learning, heaven and hell. You do this, you go to heaven. You do this, you go to hell. You do this, you go to heaven. You do this, you go to hell. You do this, you go to heaven. You do this, you go to hell. So it was almost as if sometimes the church tried to instill discipline in each people by putting a fear factor in them. Where like, I don't want to do this. I don't want to go to hell. But then it's like, fear is not, God has discovered that fear is not good enough to keep us from doing wrong. That is why he loved us. The Bible says he demonstrated his love, that while we were still doing the very thing he doesn't want, he died for us. I think that addresses the love and feeling part, and then it leads us to the next point, where it's like, I think for me growing up, the church didn't do a good job. Let me say they tried, but the church didn't do a good job teaching how to reconcile grace and truth. Like when Paul says, should we continue to sin because there's grace? He says, God forbid. But I don't think I understood that growing up. I don't understand what, okay, he loves me, but if I sin, he still loves me, so why shouldn't I sin? Yeah, you just know what I'm saying? It's like if he's gonna love me regardless, what is the point of not sinning? I didn't understand that because it was like I was just told, don't do it, don't do it, don't do it. Without being taught why. I think that's something that I wish the church did for me, kind of explaining what my decision to do the right thing, how it affects my relationship with God. Because you're just telling me, oh, you're gonna go to hell if you have sex, you're gonna go to hell if you still. How much do y'all have a take on that? If not, you have a question? Is that a question? Why are you getting the mic ready? Don't want to hear it. All right, go ahead.
Yeah, my question was actually based off of what you just landed on.
Yeah.
My question was, what is the challenge in the church, or what is the obstacle in the church, which is, restricting the church from teaching what, true, or the kingdom way of relationship, or kingdom way of dating, or kingdom way of loving is, if the church so much frowns upon the worldly teachings of what those things are.
I just want to understand a question. Why is the church? Why does the church frown on teaching the biblical way of doing relationship?
What is the obstacle that?
What are some of the obstacles that makes the church not teach it?
Yeah.
You wanna take a dive with that?
Uh, so, I mean, there's no obstacle for me,
Yeah.
and I think that it's changing.
Yeah.
And I think we were all waiting for the older people to do it, and now we are doing it, right? So I think that is changing. I think in general, I have a love of grace for the church. I'm not one of those pastors that just looks back because I'm doing it better and say, oh, they are bad. I kind of look at people's intention, and I think a lot of the things that the church did, the old church did, was they were looking out for us. Now they might have had some extremes, but actually they were looking out for us. And I think what they did was whatever the world exaggerates, they try to suppress, and whatever the world suppresses, we exaggerated, right? But it was all out of good intentions, and but in doing that, it created a culture where there was no conversation, right? I think again there is consistency in, it's not just relationship. I know ministries where people they don't tell their pastors when they're sick, right? I know ministries where people are going through things they don't tell their pastors, even their marriages. So it's not just about even relationship. It's a culture in the church that it's almost like we so much emphasize the spiritual aspect of our being again that we don't embrace the human aspect. So, if I'm a pastor and I come to church and I say, you know, you are not supposed to be sick, right? A child of God cannot be sick. Well, I understand that. I understand it's a level of faith. I get it.
I understand.
But it's also something is doing to your members.
Yeah.
Because you are at the level of faith that you're operating, but I know churches where people would want to do surgery and they will not tell the pastor because they're not supposed to be sick. I know people who had cancer until they died, the pastor never knew about it. Right. So again, it's good intention because you're trying to show them their spiritual weight, like you're a child of God, you're supposed to. But in doing that also, understand that everybody's not on that level. And so again, so instead of telling people, hey, God, instead of saying you're not supposed to, how about you talking about the power of God to heal? Bring the sickness. God's power can heal, right? So I think that's that. There's also, when it comes to relationships. So I think we just have to do a better job just embracing the human aspect of our being and making it normal for people to understand that, hey, Jesus has cast all your cares upon me, right?
Yeah.
It's just that you're not supposed to have them. It says, cast them, bring them to me. So we just have to create a culture where we understand that we are spiritual. We don't have a spirit. We are spirit, but we have a body, right? And which aspect of your being that you ignore would compromise the one that you take care of. So if you're so spiritual, but you're not taking care of, you're not embracing the physical aspect of your being, your physical aspect of your being would eventually compromise your spiritual. And so I just think that we just have to create a culture where, hey, it's okay. Like, people would say you can't cry. Crying is a lack of faith. And so people hold in. But crying is not a lack of faith. It's about things you're saying. You can cry. God gave you tears. So it begins with just setting the right atmosphere and culture within the church where people can be themselves and where we are not demonizing or saying people's actions are a lack of faith. For example, someone who's money, right? You can help them manage it rather than demonize it because, again, we just have to do better.
One thing I like to say, what I wish the church would have taught me, healthy communication.
I was just about to say
no, seriously, because even especially women, we so sensitive.
Yeah.
And especially if you come from like a hurt background or like, a damaged childhood, you kind of are so used to protecting yourself and like, what you mean? Like, you got this wall up and you don't accept criticism. You're not going to grow having that mentality of like, everybody's coming to get you. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't know if I'm explaining it right, but
I think I understand what you're saying.
that's one of the things I wish the church would have said, that it's okay to have healthy communication. And like now in my adult age, I'm learning how to do that. And that would help.
The version I was gonna say, which is like I was just thinking the same thing. The version I was gonna put it this way was, I was going to say that I wish the church taught more that love is not enough. So that sense of like that feeling that you're supposed to feel when you care about someone is not enough to make a relationship work. I wish the church taught more about, like you said, developing relational skills. Because the funny thing is, you still find churches where the pastors don't know how to communicate, right? Like they will preach well on this altar, but the way they will speak to the member is almost as if like no one taught them that's not how you talk to people. So I wish the church had taught more about, hey, look, if you want to be successful in marriage, it's not just, oh, I love them. It's, do I have emotional intelligence? Do I have a good communication skill? Do I know how to, am I good at conflict resolution? Am I good at sacrificing? Like, I wish the church taught more of the things outside of just
like
this
how to prepare
love.
for a relationship, to how to know when you're ready to, because sometimes we just go off of our feelings and we might not be ready for that.
Yeah, there's something I always say, and Joy probably had me say this many times, but I always say this: don't marry who you love, marry who you can afford.
Please explain.
So I
don't marry who you love, marry who you can afford. Let me understand this, please.
I believe that our emotion is a currency.
Okay.
I believe that everything about our beings are all currencies. Now, I love the G-Wagon. I don't have it
Mhm.
because I can't afford it.
Okay.
So my love for it won't. It's not making me go to the dealer's store right now and say I want a G-Wagon. Because if I show up there, they won't give me the car because of my love for it. In fact, most of those cars you realize they don't put the dealership stores in the poor neighborhoods. I'm sorry to say, but
I get
because they're not. It's not because the poor people don't love it. They know they can't afford it.
it. Okay. I'm waiting for the relationship
Okay.
part of it. I understand the current
So
side. Let's get
the point I'm trying to say is this: we talk about love a lot, and many people just go for who they love. Now, I would love to own a mansion. If I go for a mansion and I apply and I get the house, 4 months later, what do you think is gonna happen? A house that costs $15 million, for example,
will be repossessed.
it will be repossessed,
I'll
right?
be homeless.
And I'll be homeless. Why? Because I went for something that I
I
love,
can't afford
but
it.
I can't afford.
Okay.
Many people actually just think that love is enough, and they go for people sometimes they don't have emotional capacity for. Sometimes you don't have capacity for some people's trauma, and so you're like, and I've seen. I'm a premarital counselor, right? You will be surprised the amount of people that I know in the last 2 years that actually got engaged and canceled. And it's a great thing. That's thank God for that. But what I'm trying to say is that you know, a lot of times we go on and I've seen people who feel bad because they say, well, if I love this person, I'm supposed to have capacity. So that's for when you're already married. Again, this is for people who are not married. It's two different things. So for a married man, you can't say I don't have capacity anymore.
But you
Yeah.
make a decision.
You made a decision, you gotta stick with. But for someone who's single, you can't, you can't feel bad.
Okay, not to cut you off. I think I get what you're trying to say, but I want to get it more practical. Like, let's say, for example, I meet a girl.
Okay.
I like her. How does the affording part? Because I don't know if guys are thinking about, I don't know if I can afford her.
So
Can you give us more how it shows up in when you're dating? How maybe you cannot afford this
it
person?
could be different things. Like I said, it could be trauma,
Okay.
experience in the past, but maybe someone already has a child. Right? That's something you can do with, but you're like, man, I love her. I have to. And then you get married, and eventually you even begin to tell about her past, use her past against, oh, you that did this, you that did that. I mean, these things happen.
Yeah.
And so, and because they keep telling themselves, the church has told you, if you love the person, you're supposed to be able to afford them. That's not true. There are many things that we love that we can't afford.
I understand.
And if you love it, if you really love something, like for example, if I love a car that I can't afford, if I really love it, what should I do? Go work on my credit, go try to get a better job, and get to a point where I can afford it, and then now I go for what I love.
So would the argument be made that it's not that you can't afford it, maybe it's because you haven't been trained to afford it.
I mean, it's still the same.
It could be the same.
In
Okay,
the moment, you cannot afford it.
right?
So
But if you're trained,
go and build yourself up. And I know some people will probably say, "Wow, love."
I think this leads to the next question, right? I started dating when I was 15, right? Y'all want to tell us when y'all started dating? Do you want to tell us what age you started dating? Just for the sake of this conversation.
It was very late for me. So I would
Very late.
say,
Okay, you're a good
say
guy.
18.
18, he's a good guy.
19.
18 is very close to me now.
Yeah, I'm 19. I think
3
it's
years.
19.
You say 18.
I
Let's
think that's
keep it
late.
18.
I think that's late.
Let's
enough.
keep it 18.
That's a good
What
question.
age?
I'm not sure. I was in 6th grade when I had my first boyfriend.
Hey! Yeah, I like that, right? Yeah, we have the balance.
I remember my first kiss was this boy, and he was like, "Oh, come to the library and give me a kiss, a pop kiss or whatever." Y'all was so nervous. I literally ran to him, I pop kissed him, and I ran away so fast. Like I just ran. I'm like, "Yo, this is embarrassing, but I don't care." Like,
All right, so this is leading to my next point. I think something I wish the church would talk more about, because even when you hear in circles, right? And I agree with you that the church includes us, includes me, right? That's why I'm talking about it now, right? But something I wish the church talked more about. I wish the church told us when to date. I don't think everybody should be dating. To your point, right? If you cannot afford it, why are you going for it? I don't think the church tell us, hey, this is the age you should start dating. That age, because people make the argument, some people, I've heard people make the argument, you could date someone and it's not for the sake of relationship. I'm like, so why are you dating them? That's called friendship. That's not dating. But my point is, it's not in the form of a question. Do you think there's an age that a child or a youth should be prohibited from dating?
So I know that, for example, I know that there's a chance that they will date and they might do it behind me.
Okay.
But I don't want to know.
Yeah, no, let's not talk about the exception. Let's talk about if you were teaching a child, like for me, right?
Yeah.
Like people that have heard me make comments of my kids, right? I always say, my daughter or my son is not dating until they are ready to date for the sake of marriage. I think if we're being honest, a lot of the people that start dating in the church, when I started dating, I wasn't dating because I was trying to get married, which dating is for marriage, or unless someone have a different definition or purpose for dating. Dating is for the purpose of marriage. So if someone is 18 and they're dating, what would be the purpose of that dating if they're not ready to get married? Like I said, I would like if let's say you meet a guy, say, but marriage is a state of the mind. Well, we just talked about it. Love is not enough to get married. You need money to buy a ring. You need money to pay for the wedding. You need money to raise your kids. So if you're not financially in that area where you could afford those things, why are you dating? You have men or you have women that have not dealt with a trauma. Maybe they were raped when they were 2, they were raped when they were 6. It doesn't matter. It's a bad thing that happened. But have you gone to therapy? Have you done? I think the church doesn't emphasize enough on when people should date. People just date because they they feel like it. Oh, I like her. Let me ask her out on a date. And like,
I think on one side, some people were dating to marry, even though you see those girls you say you did it and you weren't ready to marry.
they weren't ready to marry. Me, I know they weren't ready to marry.
Okay. But in my church,
Well, some of them.
in my church, the way I go about it is,
Yeah.
the youth are taught that until you were done with college,
Yeah.
I don't want to hear any of that. Right? That is. Now, does that mean it stops them from dating?
Yeah.
I know it does not.
Yeah.
They're probably doing it behind, right? And so again, and that's the danger to that also setting an age is that you might, they might get you involved too late.
I agree.
So there is, it's just, so I will not put an age to it. I'll make it more of a one-on-one thing because
Subjective.
yeah, because in
So,
saying
so
20,
let's not put age to it. Let's put this is when you should start dating. Yeah, I agree. The age is different for everybody based on how they grow up, what they've been through. But I think we should kind of set a standard for the church. So, okay, let me ask a question. If you saw someone dating in your church who you know is not ready for marriage, would you tell them, I think you should cut it off?
I would.
Okay.
Yeah,
Most churches don't do that.
no, I would, and they know, and they absolutely know that. So they would not, they would do it behind. They would
Yeah.
never tell me.
Yeah.
And so, because again, what is the point, right? They know they would not even introduce and say, "This is my girlfriend." No one can introduce.
So when do you think people should start dating? I think this is an important conversation
When
because
you're ready to,
there are some grown men that are dating that should not be dating. Because let's keep it real. Like there are grown men who are currently dating that should not be dating. And there are women that are dating for free lunch and free dinner.
let's get the audience to answer
Yeah,
that.
I want to hear your take. What age do you think? Forget age. When do you think someone should start dating? And do you think people should date just because they like
Can I
someone?
say something though?
Yeah,
I
go
feel
ahead.
like sometimes dating can seem like a job. Have y'all ever felt like that?
Yeah.
Like it's like a job sometimes. Y'all ever feel like that? Be
Yeah,
real.
no.
You never felt like that?
No, I haven't felt like that.
I felt like that before.
It's
Like you always gotta like, especially when you're in business and stuff. It's like you can't always like be on me 24/7 because I got stuff I'm doing.
Yeah.
And it's like some people expect that, and it's like I am like it feels like a 24-hour, 24/8 job. Like,
But the question is this. My question to you then would be that if you were married, do you think it would feel like that when you were married?
I don't know. I've never been married. I don't know.
But I mean, just imagine your husband is gonna require some
I
level
mean, I feel like that's more like, okay, that's expected, you know? Like, it's like, okay, I expect that. I expect to be. But it's like, if I'm not married, I don't understand why You know what I'm saying? I'm being real. I thought we could be real here.
No.
Don't judge me.
No. But it's real. But the question is, are you saying that you don't want to date like that, or are you saying that one of the reasons that people should not be dating if they're not ready to get married is because it feels like a job. It
If they're not ready to, if they don't have the time for it, that would be my first thing. If you don't have the time to date, because it takes time to build a relationship, to
Yeah.
build. It takes time, just like a business. It takes time to build a business. It takes time to build anything. You can't just. So I would say, you definitely, if you have the time for it, and I guess I don't know. I'm just trying to put my little 2 cents in there.
No, I think you're making a good point, and I think if we keep like stripping it away, we get to the bottom of it. The bottom is like, all right, if. But my question is this, right? The way I'm thinking about it is, the purpose should be defined, right? Why are you dating? If you're dating for marriage, then even if you don't have time, you can make time because you want to get married. It's all about what you want. If you want to get married, you make time for it. But to your point, there are a lot of people that are dating because they know their intention is not to get married. They want to waste people's time because like, all right, I'm gonna give them as much time as I can afford. I think if you're going to date the right way, making time should be an intentional thing that you do for the other person, because if you get married to that person because that is the purpose of dating, if you get married to them, you will have to make time for them. So if you don't make time for them now, and I always say if somebody doesn't change to be with you, they will not change after they get you. True. Right? So if you're not making time for me now that we are not even together, you're not gonna make time when we're finally together. Like
That's true. That's true.
It doesn't make
That's
sense.
true.
So let's hear some take. If you have a different take, do you think there's some people that shouldn't date and why?
Before I attack that question, what is the church's definition of dating?
Okay.
Right? Yeah.
What is the definition of dating?
Yeah.
So it's not dating as it's a culture within.
Yeah.
Now it's not generally accepted in every church. Right? Some churches are just getting to accept this now, but it's come to stay. It's more about what we are doing. It's not necessarily the term dating. It's kind of what people are doing when they're we call it collecting of data.
Data collection.
You're collecting data, right? And that's what you're collecting. That's fine. That's what dating is. You're trying to know the other person, and they're trying to know more about you. That's fine. Now, if there's other stuff involved, then that's kind of what we should be addressing. It's not more you can't date. It should be more. Let's now.
Well, I think that's why he's asking, because if we define it, then maybe the people that are doing that will stop calling it dating, and they will call it something else, right? If dating is, because we always say you can collect data from more than one person, right? Because if you go on interview, right? If I want to get a job, I can interview here, I can interview here, I can interview here, I can interview here. But if I can't realistically work here, work here, work here, work here, work here, a lot of people, the definition of dating is they collect sugar here, collect salt here, collect honey here. They are collecting more than data. They're even collecting more sugar than the married person that's married. So I think, to his definition, right, dating is the data collection. But once you start doing more, obviously now you're probably getting into the
unsinful data collection, because you can collect other things too, all right? And how someone performs on the bed, that's not a data we collect, But it's really, just collecting of data, right? Do I think that someone should be doing that with multiple people at the same time? I don't think so.
You don't think someone should be collecting information from more than one person?
If you're calling it data.
Data, yeah, information.
Now, if you're saying you guys are friends,
yeah,
and it's someone and you're just trying to kind of see, maybe you're not necessarily officially collecting data. It's more.
I don't understand.
So wait, so collecting data is when you're friends, you're saying?
No,
it's when you're dating, when you're
I think when the interest is made known.
Made known.
I want to get to know you more.
Okay.
There is a definition, there's a decision, and there's a direction.
But no label.
No label, yeah. Okay. I don't think there's label.
There's a definition. We are dating.
Okay.
Do you mean label? Do you
I
mean
said, like,
boyfriend and
boyfriend and
girlfriend? No, that is not
No, within the church, we don't do boyfriend and girlfriend.
girlfriend. Yeah, yeah, yes.
All right, but there is a definition.
Well, the church do boyfriend and girlfriend.
They do.
Let's help them out, please.
No,
Let's
no,
explain
This
because
is- this
let's
all
let's
is
let's be realistic here.
Unofficially.
Church do
Unofficially.
unofficially.
Officially.
So-
collection
All
stuff.
right.
So okay, all right, hold on. Let's break it down. What are the stages? So I meet a young woman. I see Jessica walking on the street. I'm like, wow. Based on my physical attributes, because I don't know Jessica. I just met Jessica. I'm like, wow, Jessica looks nice. I want to get to know her for the purpose of evaluating if she could be my wife, right? I have shown interest. So I've made this decision to get to know her. And but the direction is I want to find out if she could be
Because you
my
you're
wife.
trying to go somewhere.
Yes. So now I meet Jessica. I show my interest to Jessica. I asked Jessica for lunch. We go out to lunch. We went on a date. So we're collecting information. What is the next stage after that? Based on the godly way of doing it. So I'm collecting data from Jessica, right? But it's just because I asked Jessica out to a dinner doesn't mean I can't ask Simbi out to a dinner.
So-
or is it, are you saying it's
So
wrong?
going on a date is not dating. I mean, because so it's
Wait, it is-
it's part of it.
Technically, it is.
It is part of it. But
Yeah,
to go on a date with one person, that's not. You can't say I'm dating this person.
I went on a date. Yes. It doesn't mean you. I think in the cultural definition, it doesn't mean you. So let's break it down. I want us to be on the same page. So I went on a date with them, right? Doesn't mean I'm dating them.
No.
So how many days does it become
Right,
dating?
exactly.
No. I'm just saying again. Maybe we need to have a background to this.
Yeah, let's
Before
break it
you go
down.
on a date with someone,
Yeah.
I'm sure you already collecting data.
No, I don't know them. I just met her.
You just met the person.
Yeah.
So going on a date, you're not dating yet. It's a date.
I'm collecting, yeah. So
And
that's
then the date is to initiate the collecting of the data.
yes, okay.
Okay. And
Uh-huh.
based on the
One
date,
date.
you might say, I'm not really for this. It's not what I really wanted. And it might end right there. So
So
you
what
can
if Abby hasn't ended?
so
We
you
have
can't
first,
say I
second-
dated the person because it was a
Okay,
date.
I agree with that.
Now after the date, you say let's go on the second one, but in between you're collecting data because the first date you liked it and you feel like there's a potential for something to happen, now you're dating.
So this after second.
So after the second date is dated.
Because if you're talking about collecting data,
Okay.
it's already started.
Data. Okay.
Yeah, we're collecting. So we're collecting data from Jessica, right? After second date, okay. The first question I want to throw out because I see that our definition, how our progressive patterns is different. So I want to make sure I understand you.
Okay.
Because maybe I collect something. Me, I'm always open to learning. So I go on the first date. I go on the second date. But just because I met Jessica today. But last week, I met Cindy. No, let's be honest, guys. Any single guy here knows y'all dated more than one person. Let's keep it real. So I met Jessica this week, but I met Cindy last week, and a year ago I met Eric Bambi.
You don't need one yet to collect the
Okay, I'm just joking. But let's say 2 weeks process. Let's say now. So my question is, can you go on date with more than one person? Yes. No.
You collect data from more than one person.
Yeah, as long as you're not collecting as long as you're not collecting on sinful data.
Can, yes. Should, no.
Why not?
Okay, I want to understand this.
Because I just
How would
So are you saying if I meet Jessica, I should only go on date with Jessica until I decide no more for Jessica?
I think it's just it's the more healthy way. Number one. Number two, you're actually able to collect a data without comparing. Like you're really able to because I think that because there's a lot of options a lot of times,
Yeah.
you're not really able to really fully take in or even create time or interpret what you're receiving from this person.
So question, right? So let's say I meet Jessica, right? Do you think I don't think there's an objective set time that you can get to know someone, right? You can't say I will get to know a person in a year, not a year, in a month or in a week. Second date is typically maybe a week or 2 weeks after you meet someone, right? Let's say it takes me 3 months to find out that this, because I think we have to, this is my personal take. I think I have to see someone in different seasons. Because when you go on a date and you talk about what you want, and you guys are collecting data talking about the future, right? The person, now that's my question here. Hold on, this is my question. So the person might try to become what you're looking for, right?
Yeah, so true.
So this again, I'm coming to my question because I'm just trying to learn. So I go on a date with this person. If I focus on them and not go on a date with somebody else because I just met this person, I just met her. Why will I stop getting to know other?
Like,
I'm
put
not
all your
doing.
eggs in one basket.
Yeah. So, Primo, why am I putting all my eggs in one basket when 3 months later I could find out, hey, this wasn't for me. So I have to start from the beginning all over again.
Yeah,
That's what you're saying?
because and that's what makes you um, treasure dating itself. Because if you know that it's gonna require work, it makes you not even go on any dates. Like you put. I mean, if you know this is gonna cost you 6 months, 7 months, you know what that does to you? You what do you call it when you are trying to kind of before you actually know someone or like a pre
Assessment.
yeah,
Pre-screening.
like you do a lot of work because you know, hey, I'm fully invested, you know, when I'm dating someone. And so that's kind of the healthy way. Now, if someone asks me as a pastor, I'm not going to tell you to date multiple people. I'm not going to say that. So I think you meet someone, if you guys have gone on one date and now you're going on a second date, at that point, you guys have both said, hey, we are dating. So it's not you that's just finding out. She knows what you're doing and she knows your intention and you know our intention. We are.
So after the second date, she's only dating me and I'm only dating her.
Yes.
So what would be the difference between that and a relationship? Because a relationship is I cannot collect data from someone else. And also, what I also don't this is also a question, right? So when you look at friendship, right?
Yeah.
I think there are certain someone can grow on you. Do you believe that?
Sure.
Do you believe that someone can grow on you?
Yeah.
I do think the more time you spend with someone, you are likely going to like if you want to find something to like about them, you can like I think sometimes, this is my opinion. I do think sometimes I don't think you should date for too long. Don't get me wrong, that's not what I'm advocating for here. But I think focusing on one person can sometimes make you ignore certain red flags. Because this is my opinion, right? The way we build friendship with anyone is, I think they call it, one is proximity. The closer we are, the more likely we're going to develop some kind of bond, right? So proximity is key. The next one is frequency. The more we spend time with each other, we're likely going to like each other. And this is also when you're dating, we're establishing on an attraction that already exists. Because for me to ask a woman out, that means I already find her physically attractive. So now, based on I'm already physically attracted to you. Now, there's a close proximity that we have. There's a frequency. Now, with intensity, all of those things you can develop feelings for someone. What I learned is that you can be attracted to a devil. Just because we are compatible, sometimes compatibility is bad. Because just because we're compatible in some areas doesn't mean you're good for me. And I need time to decipher if you actually fit into the woman or for the man that I'm looking for.
If that's the case,
Okay.
then don't tell the woman and say, I want to ask you out on a date.
Women, okay, if you meet a girl, let's be
we got
let's be practical here. You meet a girl that you have not look, I think me and my friend, right? We had this conversation, right? Which I actually agree with it, right? But this would work in a setting where you already know the woman, right? Where it's like, if I already know a woman, I would rather sit back and observe her instead of asking her out on a date. I would collect as much, and which is where you talk about the pre-screening, right? I would try, like, if she's in a circle of people that I know, I will ask questions. I will get to know her. I would, like, but that's in a setting where I get to know she's already in my circle, so I don't have to ask her on a date to gather information about her, right? That's in a setting where she already is in my circle. But if I'm meeting someone for the first time and I ask a woman, hey, ask most women here, if you ask a girl, can I get your number? They're already thinking that you want to date them.
That's fine.
Mm-hmm.
That's fine. But I think that again, what this culture has done is created this thing where It's almost like, are we dating? Are we gonna or not? I
Okay.
think there's room for friendship.
I agree.
The Bible is not against that. So I think that you as a guy know, okay, she most likely thinks this is what's gonna happen. You can just say, hey, I'm not trying to date because you're trying to gather information.
Yeah.
I'm not trying to date.
But your dating is that explanation.
But you are oh no, 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 no. I understand. It's just not the official one.
I'm
Because
gonna have
you
to
can,
rewatch this at home.
you know,
Get it.
I think
I
that
want us to bring. I want people to understand because I think it's a big thing. Because I know some women say, "I want to date one person." You have a question?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, in the process that you're going with, because when you're single, you're open to people, right? You're not really attached to anybody. So, let's say, for example, I went
Give her
to
the microphone, please, so
uh,
they can capture it.
uh, so let's say, for example, you go to a wedding, right, this weekend, and you meet a guy, and you guys have a conversation, and you find that that person interested and there's potential there, and you guys set a date. Let's say you're busy and your date is in 2 weeks, right? And then the following weekend you're at the supermarket and then you meet somebody else that's a likely potential. So does that mean that you should not set up a date with that person because you already have a date with one person? Like, how do you navigate only dating one person when you don't even know much about them? Like, how do you cut off the outside people?
She's like,
I don't have enough information.
Okay. All right. All right. All right. We have Pastor Joe Blue that's gonna go right. Well, let me throw something. I think I understand what you're saying. I think what you're saying is establish friendship. So that what we're calling a date is you're getting to know a friend. And then when you decide that this friend is worthy enough that is someone that you can spend the rest of your life with, then you start asking them out on a date. I think what we're skipping is I think what you're trying to establish is that we're skipping the friendship stage and going straight to trying to be romantic with them. So we are rushing the romance, but go ahead.
Sorry, my spiritual mom is watching, so hey. She texted me that she's like, I think the church talks about getting married more than they do about dating. I also believe no one teaches you how to date as a Christian, which is I think is important. How do you approach a Christian man? Do you wait on the Lord or do you date like you did in the world?
That's a good one. We save that question. We gotta come back to it. But let's hear Pastor Joe Blue and then we have Sister Roseanne over there. Is the microphone working?
Yeah, I think you already said what I wanted to say. But not the whole thing. So, well, let me just say it since I have the mic. So, what I wanted to say was, I understand what he's saying, and like you said, you have to establish. There has to be some kind of establishing before the date goes on. Like you can't just see somebody and go on a date. Like you have to evaluate the person. Is it possible? You know, like is there anything that can happen? And if it is yes, then you go on a date. And so if you know that there's something that could happen, or I think I like this person, when you start going on a date, you can't be liking two people now. You know, so I think that's what you just said. That's the same thing. Well, just
Yeah. So all right, okay. I think what we need to stop calling it date. That is the only way we will be on the same page. Because you can't say I asked you on a date, but it's friendship. I think we need to call it, hey, when you meet someone, I think what we are establishing is when you meet someone, get to know them as a friend. And then when you are confident that they have what you're looking for in a spouse, then you date. But I think what the people in the room are kind of confused, which is what I was confused earlier was when you meet someone, let's say I meet someone at the airport, and I say, hey, give me your number. I would like to take her out for lunch. She's gonna think as a date. She's not gonna think I'm going to go and get to know a friend. And I think that's the way, that's the disconnect that we're
we gotta have
experiencing.
to look at the benefits on both ends.
Before you explain, can Roseanne go ahead?
I think the church place a lot of emphasis on marriage, and that caused a lot of difficulty in dating because you cannot go out with one person, narrowing down your prospect with that person. You cannot just see one person and say, "Oh, I'm gonna go on a first date and a second date, and that's gonna be my husband." When the church see people dating, the first 2 dates, they feel that, oh, this is your wife, and they start saying, oh, we're praying for you, and and all these things, and then force individuals to make decision where they are not even friends, and the expectation as a Christian woman when they're dating a man, they're expecting marriage, and they feel that 2 dates determine commitment and all and marriage at the end, which is not so. This is reality. We have to understand that you're gonna know somebody and you're gonna develop friendship, and most people feel that friendship comes in 2 second 2 dates. No, and you go out on a date with somebody, and then you find them really interesting, but then you're not friends, and you can't narrow yourself, and for, as you said, multiple dates, 6 months, and then you end up being um not where you want to be with that person. So you have to look around and see, you know, should I date, talk to this person, find out what it is yet? And there go conversation and communication, where you have to communicate really in depth to see where you want to go with this person. So you go out with them, you listen, you talk, and that's where you're not for me, you know. And as you said before, that not everyone should date. Because then we go out with a person who's not mentally ready for any form of relationship, not because of, you said about affordability. You can't afford yourself to be exposed to a situation that you're not ready for. Women with children, men with a lot of kids, divorcee, and all these things. And how many people are gonna expose themselves to you in few days?
All right.
I won't tell you my business like that.
All right, real quick. While we're on this conversation, I think I have found the complication. If you kiss on the first date, is this still friendship?
I may think
I mean, you know the answer to that, right?
No, let's keep it on, and let's
He's
guys.
gonna go
Let's keep it real. Because again, we have a culture that is asking who pays for the first date, who pays for the second date. If you're telling the guy to go in as friendship, right? So why if you're telling the guy, hey, that's your friend, you're not dating her, you guys are just going, you guys are, because women are not going out for friendship. They expect most women expect the man to pay the bill. So the man is now thinking, since we're not friends, what am I getting on? Guys, let's be real. Yo, guys, if we're being like,
men think. I just need to know.
yo, if guys are being honest, right? If you tell if a guy tells his friends, hey, I'm going on a date with her, right? First date, maybe they won't ask. After second date, did you have kiss? Let's be real here, right? After second, so I think what the problem here is this: what we are calling what we are calling dating. You're saying you're encouraging that, which I agree with you 100%. You're encouraging that when you meet someone, before you dive into dating, be their friend. Friendship first. Get to know them before you try to swallow them. Get to know them first. Then, after you know them, then you can now say, I want to date you. The problem is that we meet people and we're like, I want to date you. And I think that's the disconnect that we're
So
having.
wait, I'm sorry, one question. So there's no such thing as girlfriend and boyfriend. We're just dating and then we're married.
So,
That's
so the
it?
Bible, so according to the scriptures, right? So the Bible doesn't mention dating, but it mentions courtship. And in this culture, we call it engagement, right? So that friendship stage, the church, based on what we have understanding now, we don't. There's no such thing as you have that's your friend. Then they're deciding to date you. Then we have from dating, we get into that exclusivity, right? Then we have engagement. Then we have marriage. And I think the benefit to his point is that it will make you date instead of many people date too long. It reduces the lifespan of that long stage
And you
of
did too
dating.
much.
Yeah.
All right. So
You did
yeah,
too-
just to kind of bring everything together.
So I have a lot of friends.
Um,
All of y'all have friends. Don't be I know some of you business out here. Y'all going to dinners and lunch.
I mean,
Y'all have a lot of friends just as I have friends.
just to kind of bring again, there is benefit to the way I was encouraging that we approach it.
Yes, I
One,
agree.
you date less, and because you date less, because you understand it's gonna require a lot of your commitment.
Takes
So
the pressure
now
off.
you do your homework. That's one. Number two, I feel like there are many people who today would have been married, but this dating culture disqualify them on the first date. Because if you're getting to know them as a friend, I bet you those people were suitable partners for you. And I think that because the way it's structured is kind of like you can't really know somebody like, okay, let's have, we're going on a date. I tell people and I encourage my youth, I say, hey, bring whoever that person is around other people. Invite them to church too.
They're your friend.
No, and that's fine. Now, to kind of talk about what she talked about, pastors and people in church, we have to do a better job because we put pressure on people and it's a real thing.
Yeah.
You don't say, oh, you guys, no, I'm never going to recognize you guys as whatever because I'm not trying to put pressure on you because I don't want you to force something
That's not it.
because it's you that's going to suffer. I'm going to be home. And so, I think that just see it, observe, call them friends. Hi, oh, your friend is here today. Just keep it on the surface, just kind of like that. Don't put pressure. Don't say, hey, these has to work. Oh, don't start calling them. Oh, when you guys getting married, don't do those stuff.
So
Also.
we are agreeing that you can have more than one friend.
Yes. If
So
if it's a friend and you're not doing the things that you're not supposed to do.
Okay. So let's kind of break it down for them. So you meet a girl, she's your friend. You have one friend, two friend, three friend, four friend. You can have many friends as you want.
You have many
So you meet friends. You're not doing it to the
You're
with
not
them.
misleading because again, you can't
I'm doing lunch. What is misleading? Lunch
because you already have the knowledge that ladies may take this way or interpret it this way.
But I think that's the disconnect because if I ask it, that's what I'm saying. If I ask a lady for lunch, she's gonna interpret it as a
I
date.
know
But
because
I
you
just want to
know
be
that
her friend.
because
So
you,
are you supposed to
because
say,
you
like, hey,
know
I'm gonna
that
take you out to lunch, but it's not a date?
because
Like, is
you
that what
know
you're supposed to
that
say or something?
no
You're- You know what you say? I want to get to know you.
know you, but
But that's a date.
That's still the same thing.
Yeah.
I feel like
Hold on. I want us to break it down, which is where I'm getting to it. So you meet a girl. Let's look. I think here's the point. It's healthy to establish friendship. So we've established friendship.
Yeah.
We are friends.
okay,
I met 4 women. They are my friends.
Okay.
And I decided, you know what? So you are saying once I decide to date one of them, I cannot date any other person.
No.
So that means so wouldn't that be asking them to be in a relationship with me based on this? But I guess we also have to factor in what this culture called. That way we can explain it to them,
Yeah.
right? We don't just want to use our definition. So for culture, there is dating, there is boyfriend and girlfriend, there is fiance, and then there's marriage. So from the godly point of view, there's friendship,
friendship.
and after that, what is that? When I ask you to go on a
Date.
date with me, is
You
what?
start dating, which we call relationship, but
Is it courting? Is that?
I wouldn't call it courting yet.
So what is it? So
It's just more.
dates
It's
does it
just
take to be
more. It's
courted?
just more. It's defined. It's decided, and there's a direction.
so let's establish the. I'm not giving you a hard time. I want because I
you
know.
just want to know.
I know there are people out there
Bring it
that
on.
are listening and like, yo, like that's dating. So we want to break it down for them. So I mean, we've already established friendship. We advise you here when you meet someone, get to know them as a friend first. So now we have gone from being friends. Now we go on a date, right? So we go on a date, and once I start going on a date with them, you're saying that I shouldn't be going on a date with any other person.
No.
So that means we are
Dating.
You guys are both aware. You're both decided. You both have a knowledge of a
Interest and
direction, and
Mhm.
you guys also both have knowledge of the definition of what this is.
Okay.
That's kind of what it is now.
So can I ask you a question? What would be the difference between when I decide to date her and when I'm her friend? What is the difference?
Friend, there's no definition.
Mhm.
There is no direction,
Mhm.
and there's no decision on. You just.
But is there interest in friendship?
I mean, there
Or
can
no?
be. There can.
There's interest, but there's no
There's-
direction.
It's not defined.
Not defined. Okay.
It's not, and I think it benefits everyone because one, you get to know more. Because, but I think it's more.
Everybody
It's
talking over
Yeah. Oh,
We just-
if you have a question, let's hear. But let's establish the pattern.
yeah. I just want to get this.
I just want him to establish the stages. Then if you don't agree with it, then we'll talk. But let him establish the stages. So we have friendship. We
So this is how I
established
go
that.
about it. Let me just put into how I go
Okay.
about it. So I meet someone.
Mhm.
And I'm okay. This is good.
Okay.
It's good looking. And so, hey, can I have your number? Right. I'll
Mhm.
get the number, and I can't take advantage of the fact that I know how ladies interpret stuff because men can do that. You can say, "Oh well, we're friends." I didn't say anything. You already know how ladies think. So again, don't take advantage of that.
Okay.
To
We have
deceptive.
established that was
Because I know she may have that expectation.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not gonna tell her, oh, the girl we went to the date and say, hey, let's go and eat, but this is not a date. No, I can tell her face to face, like, hey, you know,
This is my intention.
this is, this is
The
not.
intention is to get to know you.
Yeah,
That's
I
all.
just want to get, but this is not a date. This is not just because
There's no pressure. Just
so
tell them
she
there's no
knows
pressure.
that she can have other friends and you can have other friends,
Uh-huh.
right? And then once you know enough, you can collect, you can make it official. That's kind of what it is. It gives you time to know more. It also gives you time not to disqualify a lady after 2 dates.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because now you know a lot.
All right. So let's keep.
And then
So
there's
we
no
have friendship.
pressure for them to be to try to fake it because they're like, well, he's not trying to date me anyway, right? Rather than someone who feels like I have to become something on the first date, second date.
But I think we need to establish that if I'm trying to, and I get your point, but I think we need, as a man, if to your point, right? If I'm not ready to date only you, if dating is exclusive, that's what you're saying. Dating is exclusive,
Should be.
right? Should be
Agreed.
exclusive,
Yes.
right? If dating should be exclusive, I don't owe you telling you it's not a. I don't have to. I'm gonna tell you I want to be your friend. There's nothing wrong with that. I think we should be okay with that.
We should.
We
but
should be
we
okay
should
with it.
still also take into factor, understand that there is a culture already, and this is contrary to that culture.
Okay.
So don't just say, well, you
But
should
the
know
woman,
that.
the woman can ask questions. She will be like, "Oh, so you don't want to."
But the man,
So
you
you
can just let her know.
Yeah,
too.
okay. I will let her know you're just a friend. So from friend, you're saying after
I
friendship,
don't like that.
after friendship, I do not look. Can we establish the
That's
stages
what hurt
first?
my feelings.
Okay, can we establish the stages? We haven't gone through the stages yet. Can he establish the stages? Then we can ask questions. We have friendship, then we have dating. After dating, what's next? Engagement,
Exclusivity.
Then yeah, then we are dating.
dating,
And we
then
going to now dating. Something might happen and it doesn't work out, right?
okay.
And so you restart again, right? And
Okay.
then if it works out, you go into engagement and then
Okay.
marriage.
All right. So for the sake of this argument, the stages of dating is friendship, dating, engagement, marriage. All right, let's hear your question. I just wanted to establish that. So when we ask questions, we know exactly where we disagree with and we can address it. So dating, friendship, dating. Don't go be kissing your friends. Dating, friendship, dating, engagement, marriage. Ask your questions. Go ahead.
So then, wouldn't the friendship be casually dating? I'm just going out on dates, collecting information. It's casual, no intimacy, nothing. I'm just there to garner information from this person, and that's it.
From your friend, that's fine.
But we're on a date. Cause okay, so okay, no. So see me, you find me attractive,
Yeah.
but you want to get to know me as a friend, right? Okay, so you ask for my number. How are you gonna get to know me as a friend? You're gonna invite me out on a date.
No, I wouldn't call it a date.
Okay, but you
It's
would
just dinner. Invite out to dinner.
okay, you would. So you would invite me out to dinner, and you would be paying for the dinner because you invited me to. Okay.
Exactly.
Okay, so again, I can understand
That's
that
what I'm saying.
expectation. If he says, hey,
Taking you out
if he
to dinner.
says, let's go check this out, let's go check out this movie. If it's the one, then maybe I can understand your expectation as to that. But it's not a date. I would pay,
So they
but I know some
Oh,
friends would
you know,
not.
but you paid for that dinner.
Okay, sorry. So let's go check out this whatever, right? Okay. Well, I was minding my business. You saw me, you came, you approached me. Me, I already have my stuff going on. You now came and told me. You came and told me, let's go check this out. I was minding my business. What are you now doing? Like, what's your intention now? If I ask you want to be
Getting to know you, because he doesn't know you.
Yeah, let's be friends.
He wants to know you.
that's a date.
No, let's.
It's an appointment.
What? No.
No, we so you see, this is the problem. Is that, and I think you see the climax of every relationship is friendship.
Okay.
To be honest,
Okay. I can agree with that.
the reason why even married people struggle is because
They're not friends.
they're not friends. Like literally, and we always try to avoid. I know so many people that I know will do terrible in related in marriage. You know why?
Yeah.
They're not good at friendship.
Yeah.
We don't even want that, and that's kind of what created this culture because it's kind of like, oh, are you for marriage or you're trying to? Okay, you're not. I don't want to. Like you can't reduce someone to just that. There's
Now
so
the
much.
thing, one of the benefits, just to throw it, one of the benefits I also think is, I remember me and Ezekiel had a conversation, and he was saying, "Can you imagine?" And I look at my life, and I could attest to it. There are a lot of friendship that would have survived, that would have brought so much value to me, but because we try to be romantically involved, things had to break up because one person had more feelings than they should have. So we had to go our separate ways. I think, to his point, he's not saying that that's what we have been conditioned. To his point, we have been conditioned to call it a date. But what he's saying is the right way to look at it when you meet someone is, hey, I'm getting to know you. I'm just trying to establish a common ground where we can be friends. And now, after our friendship, when we say, you know what, based on us getting to know each other, if there is a mutual interest to kick things to the next level, now we date. I think that's what he's trying to establish.
Okay, so for example, I go on dates with my girlfriend sitting right here, right? We go on dates. It's
Friendship,
a friendship
yeah.
date,
Yeah.
exactly. So you meet me, you want to go on a date with me, regardless whether it's a friendship date or not.
Yeah.
It's a friendship date. Now, if I'm casually dating people,
Yeah.
we're not romantically involved. I don't even know the man. I'm
Yeah.
not
That's
getting
your
to know.
friends.
I'm now getting to know the man. If you're asking me out, that's my thing. Because then, once we start saying friendship, that's when the men start going with well, who's paying and who's doing that. My whole thing is, once you ask me out on the date, then we already know it's established.
So again, I think it's the word you use. So it's a friendship, and then we say we have a date. If it's just we're friends, you can call it. You can still call it the date. I guess what you know.
I think she
that's
just
the
doesn't
word.
want to pay for the dinner. She wants to, I think she wants to establish who is paying for this dinner.
It's up for the date. I'm not paying for it.
So I'm just saying though.
But I think to his point though, right? If this is someone that you want to be friends with, your first thought would not be who is paying for it, because you genuinely want to get to also know that person.
I mean, this is not my business. You wanted to be friends with me,
So
right?
Okay.
But here's the culture we've created. I mean, it's not good because this is what's going on.
Because the guy's gonna start saying, "What am I getting? I'm paying."
I'm
So,
Data.
are you not collecting data?
No,
You're collecting data. I'm collecting data. Why am I paying for the data that you're collecting? Look, I'm not saying I have a problem paying, but if we're establishing that we are friends and you're collecting data, I'm collecting data, why is this? Why is it an unwritten rule that I have to pay for this data collection?
No tip.
You would say,
So this is the thing, because like for me, I think it would really break my heart if someone looks at me as a single man and say, the only value I see in you is in you potentially become my husband. If you're not, if you know, like that's very demeaning actually. It is like I think that there's so much that you can. You think do you actually think that all that you can be for someone is just be their wife? There is so much you can be for other people. There's so much that God has called you. That person that you are saying, oh, if it's not a date, it might be someone who God has called as a destiny to help life with you. Then you can
that's
say
a
that.
possibility.
Then you can say
No,
that.
because I think once now it's exclusive, it's just you and I, then it's just like, if it's just a friendship,
Again,
But then his rebuttal would be, if you can go on a friendship date with your girlfriend
yeah.
and not have any expectation of it becoming more than just that,
Yeah.
why is it such a big deal to go to lunch or dinner with a guy that you just met and say, hey, look, I'm just here to get to know you. There's no strings attached. There's no
it's okay if it
expectation.
doesn't work.
There's no pressure.
It's okay.
No, which is understand. I guess it's, again, it goes back to definition, because
Yeah.
casually dating people, I go on these days, I'm not expecting anything. I'm not there expecting the person to be my husband. I'm just there to collect information.
Yeah.
If it aligns, it aligns. If it doesn't, it doesn't. Grace God, right?
Yeah.
Me, I think it's a bit different when it comes to me and my friends. For example, I didn't see my friend and go, "Hey, girl, I think you're pretty. Let's go on a date." No, that's not how it happened. We formed a genuine friendship. You get what I mean?
Yeah.
So my thing is, I already have girlfriends, and thank God he's already placed a lot of brothers in my life. If you, as a man, you see me and you want to be my friend, then how are we even going about the whole situation? Because once you ask me out on a date, in my head, it's not like, yes, I'm marrying this man, but it's a date. It's a date. I don't know, like, it's a date.
Even if it does not use the word date.
Like,
Even if it doesn't use the word date, I don't think it matters to
like,
women.
I'm not there to marry you, and I'm not there to be a girlfriend, right? But you still inviting me out. Where are we going? Oh, where did you go, girl? Yeah, I want a date to this place.
So you don't want to have anything to do in a relationship with any guy if it's not for that.
No, when I say date, it's not. I think you're deeming it as only romantic, and that I'm not talking about just the romantic aspect.
No, I'm not talking
The
about
fact
romantic.
that
I
you
mean,
asked me out
yeah,
to go
I get it.
eat,
It doesn't have to be
it's a
romantic.
date.
It's just having a
I
direction
think I
towards
think the
love.
encouragement he's doing, we get your point. We understand what you're saying. It's culture have done it so in a certain way for so long. I think what he's encouraging you to do is just be open to seeing it as establishing
Meet
friendship.
people.
Not take the pressure out of that dating. Just don't think about it as the thing about it is I'm going to get to know someone.
Meet people. Just be open-minded.
Okay, so then who put that pressure? Because when I'm over here going out on casual dates and stuff, it's no pressure there for me. I'm just going to collect information. Again, I think it all narrows down to the church's definition and the rest of society's definition. Because it's date is dating, and then it's relationship, and then it's engagement, and then it's marriage. But here I'm now finding out it's friendship, and then we skip to relationship
So I have a
exclusivity.
question.
Yeah,
If you go on a date with a guy
yeah.
and after that date he doesn't reach out to you, did you date the guy?
I went on a date with him.
No, you went on a date, but did you date him?
I just went on a date with him.
Okay, so we
Based
see
on that
we have to
definition,
we
yeah.
have to separate it. So you're calling a date there's difference between a date and when you're dating, right? I'm saying just because you went on a date, again, that's what we call it, right? I'm saying you don't have to call it that.
I do agree that our
Wait up,
culture
wait
needs to
up.
encourage more friendship. I do agree with that.
We need to be very
Shalabia had a
focused.
question.
Yes.
Shalabia had a
No, wait up,
question.
wait up.
No, but I think I understand you though. I understand what you're saying, but I think we have to because that the way you see it, that's the way I at least that's the way I used to say it. But even before this conversation, I was just telling them I have a friend. He's gonna I don't want to put his business, but before he met the girl, before he started dating her, he brought her around and he told her, look, I think you're attractive, but I just want to get to know you. He brought her around. He made it very clear. But I think where the discipline is, we have to be disciplined enough to not engage in intimacy.
Yeah.
Because I think that's where guys,
boundaries.
I think that's where it messes up because we're saying that's my friend, but you want to kiss. That's my friend, but you want to touch. That's my friend, but you want all of this
And you
other
want to
things,
hang
right?
out every day.
Right?
That's excessive.
That's exactly right. So he brought this girl literally like he brought this girl around for over a year. He brought her around. She met his friends, met his church people, and after a year and some months, he said, you know what? Now I want to date you. And I think even though like I feel like that could be a little extreme, but I think I see the value because I think sometimes we rush into dating someone without like, I think I lean towards more establish friendship first. Establish the friendship. And if you one thing that I learned with God is this God is not a God of instant gratification. And I think we're like a microwave culture. That we have a microwave mindset. We want to reap the dividends of our investment today. That is our biggest problem. We want to reap. I invested. Where's my money? Where's my harvest? I think what I've learned and what I'm learning and what I'm working on is hey, don't rush to reap the harvest. Whether it's pleasure, whether it's whatever it is you're looking for, give it time to marinate. Right? You meet someone. I think sometimes because we are so afraid, we want to snatch them out of the market so fast so that they don't date somebody else. So that's fear. Be their friend, get to know them. Then you can decide, you know what? I want to date this person. And when you finally decide you want to date them, you already have some information. Now you're just focusing on building a level of intimacy, which is intimacy.
Yeah. So my
Still have
question
you?
that
Okay.
I have, she forgot her question. I think it's a shock to us because we're so used to doing it a certain way already
Yeah.
that this just seems out of the realm. So me, I'm trying to understand this.
Yeah.
Does it change the effort level that you put in now that you
Absolutely.
are labeling it a friendship?
Yes.
Because with friendship, you are not in a haste to get to know them, right? Because with friendship, you kind of take your time. You know they're not going anywhere. But with dating, there's a purpose and there's a possibility that this person might not be for you. So is there an effort level change that you put in now that you're approaching this as a friendship? or the effort is still the same?
Are you speaking for the guy or for the woman? Because guys and women make different effort in the
No,
beginning.
I'm speaking for the guy. So now that you're approaching her and you see, because my friends, I know they're not going anywhere. So I'm not really like, I don't have a timeline on them, right? So if I'm a guy and I'm approaching this female as a friend, does that change the effort level that I put in? Or do I just relax and, do things slow, and if it happens, it happens?
Yeah, that's a good question.
I do think that the only thing that I would say before I let him go is this. I think even in our friendships, we're not intentional. And the question in itself reveals how intentional we are when we are building friendship. Because we have friends that don't check up on each other for months. That is not, I don't know, that for me, I don't consider that friendship. We have to, I think what, for the guy, right, I would be very intentional. Because I'm being your friend doesn't mean I have to. I think my approach would be different. I think to a point, if we always do exclusive stuff, that's gonna lead to that is I will probably do less exclusive stuff. So for example, if I meet a girl that now, based on this definition, I find her attractive, yeah, I take her to lunch, but I'll probably invite her to my friends get together, game nights, probably to my church, probably to the church barbecue. But I'll be very intentional in putting her in close proximity where I can observe. So there's still a level of intentionality there where I make effort to see her because I can't get to know what I don't see or someone I don't spend time around. So I think the difference here is there will be a different level of intentionality in when you're trying to get to know someone. And I think we just need to rewire how we see the opposite sex.
And just like friends, like they're friends you love to be around, right? So it doesn't even have to be about dating. If I'm a friend and I'm like, oh man, she's cool. What do you think? I want to talk to you more, right? So that should be enough in itself, because there are factors like personality, the way you talk, how you feel around the person. So those things should naturally kind of just stimulate, your level of intentionality. Maybe you
Yeah.
feel confident, you feel, good about yourself around them. You want to be around them more. There are friends that I want to hang out with, and your friends I don't want to see as much. So it's the same thing too. If I have a friend so I think it just shows that number one, we're actually very bad. I don't think people realize how terrible they are at friendship. A lot of people.
That's what I just said. That's what I said. The level of
A lot of people
intentionality.
are so terrible at relationships, and so like we've been so like wired where we only intention about things where we can get something from. And that's a problem.
And I think this actually will benefit guys more because all this shakara that women do. Because think about it, right? No, I'm being very serious, right? So because I think I had mentioned it earlier. I think Joe, I'm not sure if you remember. I said my biggest thing in the dating season is reciprocity. Why will a man be going full force for a woman that doesn't even want to hang out with him? Think about it. If she doesn't even think you are cool enough to want to hang out with you, why would you want to pursue her so hard to marry her when she doesn't even see enough value to be your friend? So I think for guys, this is something that we should pay attention to. And I think this will probably help you. Don't be in a rush to wife her. Be intentional about getting to know her, but give room for her to reciprocate the effort to also be your friend. Because like you said, a married couples that are not friends, that relationship is likely going to be disastrous when there's no friendship. So I think for guys, it actually benefits guys a lot because now it shows the woman's interest. If the woman's only thinking of you as from romance, she will eliminate you faster. So that is my little
And,
thing.
and when
Joy
we,
had her
and
hand
when
up.
we talk about like instilling godly principle,
Yeah.
don't just think about how it affects you. I think a lot of times we're just thinking about, well, me, right? Think about how it affects everybody. Because you may feel a kind of way, but it may be good for the whole body of
Body of
Christ at
Christ.
large.
I have a question.
Right.
I agree. And just sorry, one more thing, right? Ezekiel had said something where he said one of the reasons why. So imagine, I think if you haven't watched that episode, it's probably one of our best episodes. It's called "Mistakes That Christians Make in Dating." Me and Ezekiel, we killed it. We was really good. One of the things that he said was this. He said, "So think about my friend goes on a date with her. and does stuff for her, what is the chances where I would want to do something with her after my friend have been intimate with her in that way? But can you imagine if she was just a friend that my friend got to know and my friend decided, hey, I don't think I see any future here. My level of my I won't be as reluctant to get to know a woman that my friend took to lunch as I would be with a woman that my friend was doing daddy and mommy things with. Right? So let's be honest here. Right? If I meet my boy, I say, yo, Noah, man, how do you know how? Yeah, we went to lunch, but we're just friends. And I'm like, wow, okay, I want to take her to lunch. Who? But if I say, hey, Noah, how is it? Like, how do you know her? Yeah, man, we did this, we did that, we did that. My reluctance to go and get to I might miss out on my wife or a woman that could potentially be my wife because we have built a culture where friendship is not encouraged or romance is pushed more than friendship. So I think that's something to be very mindful of. Go ahead, Joy. Let's hear Joy. Go ahead. You have a question?
So the question is okay. So the question is, so you brought up the example of your friend bringing the girl around for a year.
Yeah.
A year is a long time.
Yes.
And so if you're bringing this person around in spaces to meet your other friend, how do you navigate when you bring that person around and somebody's like, they're interested?
Right.
And technically,
That's true.
the person is single. Y'all are friends.
Right.
So what are you doing?
She's a free agent. I think the guy have to be okay. If we are friends, you have to be. And I'll tell you, my friend was okay with it. My friend was like, yo, if you want to date somebody, that's fine. If you meet anybody you want to date, I'm not stopping you. And I think that's part of the confidence, right? Where you're not in a rush. Hey, date whoever you want to date. That's fine. So I think if you stop her from dating, now you're being selfish. So I think as long as you're okay with her dating other people or being friends, they were defining our words. Being friends with other people is healthy, you know?
Yeah, and I think just paying attention to, like a perception too.
Yeah.
Like even for let's say not even dating, like even just regular being married. I have female friends that I can't see all the time and I can't be around all the time, right? And so I think even for someone, even though you're saying this person is your friend,
Yeah.
you can bring them to every family party. Because even if you are not seeing it that way, people are, and you're creating a picture, And so I think that you also have to be mindful of, hey, how things look to other people. So hey, you like her being around, okay, let her come to church, yeah, okay, let's see again in 3 months or two. Like, oh, if she wants to get back up the church, but oh, you want
She might be married in 3 months.
and because if you're consistently bringing someone around to the same place, around the same people
Yeah,
1 year, and you're just saying, my friend,
Yeah.
that doesn't look right.
Okay.
So I think that kind of just find a good balance.
Okay, so second time. So I think it's about confidence, and I think people, if you really want to have like a happy relationship, you should have this confidence. So, I mean, 1 year and change might to a lot of people might be a lot of time, but it works for who it works for, right? Just brings me back to the date and who's gonna pay, something like that, right? So it's the same thing. Like if I'm a female, or if I was a female and I was gonna go on a date, what is gonna be healthy is I'm not gonna expect you to pay. Or rather, I'm gonna come with my money. Because I'm not gonna say, well, you invited me for a date, so you have to pay. I'm gonna come prepared. Because I'm trying to know you. Because if you're a man, you're supposed to pay. Honestly. But if you did not pay, I will pay. But that private could be the last time you're gonna see me.
But that's friendship, though. But you see, but then you also
We are saying the same thing.
No, but you put the pressure on the guy.
Wait,
No, but I know what I'm saying.
Let me finish. Let me finish. Let me finish. Let me land. Let me land. Let me land.
What is your take on that?
It's like so at the end of the day, right? It's not really about who's gonna pay, right? Because when I'm now your friend. I know what's going on with your pocket. I'll be able to decide to support you. But if you are inviting me out, like my point is not really about the date. I'm just using that to kind of explain something. The thing, what I'm trying to explain is confidence and being very patient to understand the person. So you bring a girl around or guy around, don't be too in a haste, like you said, right? Let the person do them. Bring them around, let them do them. Let them see what they will do. because later, that thing you're trying to rush, they will still do it. So bring them around, let them behave, let them become their self. When you see who they are, if they are quick to go and find another boyfriend because you didn't ask them out. Oh yeah, now let's see. So it's patience.
Just kind of, all right, I want to kind of summarize because it's almost 2 hours now. I'm not sure if you're going to pay attention. So, but is this good or what? Is this good? This is good. I feel like I think I've even learned something today on. I found it like establishing our friendship. But I hope you're getting something out of it. But let's keep our remarks short, sweet, because we want to kind of close out. If not, we're gonna be here till 12 midnight. Go ahead. Who has the microphone? Well, before you go, do you have anything to say briefly to what he said, or are you in agreement with that?
I have no objection.
No objection.
Thank you.
When you were laying the blueprint to marriage, I disagree with you. Simply because to me, I believe there is friendship, there is dating, there's relationship, also known as courtship, then there is engagement, then there is marriage. Right? Now let me explain. When you meet someone for the first time, you take their number, you get into the person. You're beginning a friendship with the person.
Okay.
Right? And I'll use your friend as an example. He brought the friend around saying, "This is my friend." Introduce the person to the group. This is my friend.
Okay.
Friends can stay around for a year, 2 years, 3 years, 4 years. They're your friends. Then something I think most people missed was you said he later on told her, "I want to date you." Right? Now, dating, as we've all established, is the collecting of data to result in a relationship. Right? Now, dating is getting to know someone. So we should be allowed to date multiple people for the intention of a relationship. Right? Now, when you're dating multiple people, you're getting to know who is potential to be in a relationship. Right? You're trying to decide who to go in a relationship with. So I feel like we should be allowed to have multiple options, right? To get to know because sometimes we don't even know exactly what we want or what we need. And getting to deal with different people teaches you what you actually want, what you actually need, what you desire. You get what I'm saying? That is during the dating stage. Now you date a few people, then as you're dating them, you're observing, you're collecting your data. You have enough information because information is data, processed data. Now you have information about all of them. Who then you decide who out of them is qualified to be in a relationship with you. Then you go into a relationship with them. Now it becomes exclusive. That's where you can tell them, "I don't want you seeing anybody else," because now we're in a relationship. Right? A relationship, we're in a relationship to possibly become engaged and get married.
So let me ask you a question.
Sure.
There's a redundancy in your stages. What is the difference between courtship and relationship?
Courtship is also known as relationship.
So what is the difference between courtship and engagement?
Courtship is now you're getting to really know this person. You're getting to.
What were you doing at friendship level?
No, hold on.
I'm not. I want to understand.
Sure.
If you're getting to know them at courtship, what were you doing at friendship?
So friendship is you're trying to build a connection.
That's getting to know them. Can we agree with that?
Sure.
Okay, so you got to know them in friendship.
Then
you got to know them in dating. Then you're getting to know them in relationship.
Sure. So hold on. Let's take it bit by bit. All right. Now friendship, you're getting to know the casual things going on. Right? How do they relate with people? How do they interact with people? Right. That is friendship. Now dating is you're getting to know more information that is beneficial to you to be able to qualify this person to be in a relationship, right? As so much as um, how is their financial situation, right? How does this person react in anger when they're under stress? How do they react? You get what I'm saying? Now, if you collect all those data, and you process it, like, listen, you know what? Maybe this is what I want, right? Now you go into a relationship with this person. Now it's exclusive, right? You're telling this person, I want you, you want me. All right? It's the two of us. Now let's work, towards engaging and marriage. Now, relationships cannot always go as you want because then you get to find some different things. Now, this is when you're getting to know this person deeply, right? You get to find different things. Maybe this person always comes around with nice sneakers when you were dating them. They always come around nice sneakers, nice clothes and everything. But you're in a relationship with them. Now you find out, oh, this person doesn't even like washing their sneakers. Now maybe that's a deal breaker for you.
Okay, and not to call you up, but I feel like a lot of the information that you're saying you collect in the dating or relationship phase, those are information that you can still collect as a friend. Because I could ask my friends questions about their sneakers, about their finances. Like I can ask if they are my friends because every French relationship is based on equity, trust. The more you establish the equity, the more you can demand of the relationship, right? So I think for the sake of summarizing, I think your stages. So your stages there, if you get from wrong. So your stage is friendship. So you agree with friendship. Then from friendship you go to dating. From dating you go to a relationship where we're exclusive. So then from relationship you go to engagement, where it's still exclusive. Then from engagement you get to marriage. Do you see how redundant that is? So we are doing the same thing in engagement, and we're doing the same thing in relationship. I understand. I think what I encourage us to do is we've done things a certain way for so long that we should be open to seeing the wisdom or the benefit of seeing it differently, right? So if we're collecting information and look, if we're being honest, you will collect information even in marriage. Even if we're being honest, you're collecting information even when you marry them. So data collection is from the day you meet them to the day you die. So every stage is data collection. What we are trying to establish here is putting every stage should have a healthy boundary. And I think it's the boundaries that define the stages. It's the boundaries. So I think what he established here, he just kind of made it simple where the boundaries are. At friendship, there's no boundaries. As far as like you're not you could be friends with as many people as you want. I don't owe you anything, you don't owe me anything. Then when we decide to date, now there's a level of commitment. Now the boundaries is okay. We're not we're not being intimate with more than one person. Then after dating is engagement, which is marriage. So I think for the sake of we're all saying the same thing. Just I think what his point was not to, tell you can't date more than one person. What he was trying to establish was for us to spend more time on the friendship phase. Because a lot of the people that we are being intimate with, we know probably it's not going to lead to marriage if we're being honest. So let's spend more time being friends with them before we make that move. Then Jesus told a story one time, and he said, "A man that starts building a house without first counting the cost will start building and have to stop halfway. And men will think of him as foolish." So Jesus said, "Hey, before you go and start trying to get intimate with someone, calculate, is this going to go all the way before you start making those moves?" Let's take one more question and then we have to close it out. I know it's good, but we don't want the video to be 5 hours long.
So I agree with Pastor Danny's stages, but when it comes to I forgot my question. I forgot my question.
So take you through why he kind of clarifies some of the stages. So I think the stage that I think the biggest disconnect here is the exclusivity part. Okay, we know engagement. Engagement is we are ready to get married. what are the stages before we are ready to give, before I ask you to be my wife? I think that's where the disconnect is.
So I remember. So when we were dating, when you date multiple people, you get to know what you like and what you don't like. So I think dating one person or not dating a lot kind of prevents you from knowing what you like and what you don't like. You can like someone's personality, you can be friends with them, you can be like, I don't like that. He's supposed to his sisters. I don't know, something ridiculous. But like I feel like not taking your approach takes that away. The whole you don't know what you like and you don't know what you don't like. Like, is that a thing where it's I don't know myself enough? So may feel like I need to date multiple people helps me know what I like and what I don't like. If that makes sense. I don't know if that makes sense.
So I don't think so. I think on the friendship level you can, and I think everyone is different. So most of my friends will tell you this, even the male friends. I approach friendship even almost like I'm picking a wife, like literally. I'm very detailed, and right. And so I think it kind of helped me because I've always gone about friendship that way. So it was just the same thing. So because on a friendship level, you would be able to see these things too. If you've already cultivated an habit of asking your friends questions, good questions, it's just the same thing. It's really the same thing, like, and it's actually easier for you. Like one of the things I try to do, even in my teachings and stuff, is just reshape this culture. And if we can actually you realize that this is actually beneficial, I think we're looking at how this affects me. That's kind of what we're all looking at in the moment. But if you look at the bigger picture, you're gonna see that one, the greatest compliment or that someone can give you, I think that it's to call your friend. I mean, even God
Yeah, that's
called Abraham a friend. He didn't say my son, my friend. And I think that for someone to look at you and say, if you can't be my husband or wife, you're of no value to me. I just think that it's just very bad. And I think that that just in terms of like friendship, you find people who are married and when they're going through, it's their friends to still go talk to. It's their friends to still confide in because they don't have a friend in their partner. And so, like, at the end of the day, being friends is beneficial. It even avoids the point of you're dating someone and they just disappear and you're like, what happened to me? Being a friend, it actually gives you a plan because nothing is really official. So if someone really disappears, it's kind of not, it doesn't feel as bad as, oh, we went on 3 dates and it's just boom. I think it's just overall it is beneficial, right? If you look at it just for you, you might not like it because we want answers right away. I get it. Like I want to know right away. I want to know right away. But
All right, so let's close out. I think one way to close out would be to kind of reestablish the stage, right? That way, anybody that is confused will know. All these people that you're calling dates, they're your friends. All right. But I think just for the sake of clarity, I think just to close out, just to kind of highlight, based on you understand what culture thinks dating is, right? You understand what people are doing in each stage of dating. Just kind of clarify, like give us the stages again, and then we're gonna close out. So just clarify.
I think now I actually feel compelled to redefine dating. I called it collecting data, but like he said, we're collecting data for life, right? And so I think maybe that's where the confusion is because you're always going to collect the data. And the second thing is that I think because the word dating is not in the scripture, we are trying to place it somewhere. And I think that's the issue. We're just this is us trying to just, let's see where we can put this cultural thing in a godly process.
Yeah.
Right. And so being a friend, you meet someone, being a friend, it's good. Start with friendship. Now, I believe that as long as you can communicate and there's no confusion, see, it's better to hurt someone with the truth than for you to deceive them with a lie. So I'd rather say, hey, you know what? I think you're cool. I like for us to be friends. And even though you wanted a husband and me, you're disappointed. It's good that you have that early disappointment than to be disappointed later. And so I'm always for communicate, don't be deceptive, just be honest. And so one that is known, the girl may feel a kind of way, so she might walk away, even good. That's good. And or she might, you guys might be friends and you might actually become friends that even when she becomes married to a partner, her husband actually calls you to say, hey, your sister, your friend. I mean, you just never know.
Yeah.
You just never know.
We got
So
friendship. We got that
so
part down.
the best thing you can be for someone is not to be
friend.
their wife or husband. It's to be their friend.
So everybody got the first stage. All right. So after friend, I want us to establish
Friend,
then
and then you've collected
data. So
data.
so what he's encouraging you to do as a friend is to collect data. Be intentional about your friendship. And I think that's the part that we're missing. You're not just being a casual friend, you're being an intentional friend. So we have friendship, and then we have friendship.
And then you date.
So dating is not, I tell the person.
Dating is when it's defined, it's decided, and there's a direction.
So dating, you're not dating someone until it's defined, it is decided,
Defined, decided, and
direction.
Direction.
So that's when you're dating. So after dating now, what's the next stage after that? Engagement. After engagement, marriage. I think it's simpler now. I think the more simple things are, the better for us, right? Do you have any closing remarks?
I'm good. I mean, it was a lot. It was a lot. Thank you. Thank you guys.
Of course. Now this was good. This was good. I think we're always learning. We're always growing, and our goal is always to find how does God wants us to do it, right? One of my favorite definition of truth is God's opinion, right? That is what truth is. Anything that is not God's opinion is a lie. And even though, like you said, even though the Bible doesn't necessarily mention dating, it gives us blueprint. It tells us about the ideal man and woman. It tells us about the ideal man in Adam. It tells us about the ideal woman in Eve. It tells us about I always say this in the scriptures. There are certain things that are prescription, and there are certain things that are description. For example, if you go to a doctor and they tell you you have a headache, does that mean they have prescribed anything to you? No, they've just described your condition. And in the scriptures, there are a lot of description. That's what the Bible says. The Bible was written so you can learn. It's describing certain things to you. So we have to learn the distinction between description and prescription. There are things that God prescribes, and there are certain things that God described. So when God told us that Solomon had 1,700 wives, 300 wives, and 700 concubines, he's not prescribing a man should have 700 wives or 1,000 concubines. He's describing what Solomon did. Description. When it comes to prescription, it tells you a man leaves his father's house and clings to a woman, and the two becomes one. That is prescription. He's telling you what it should be. So I think sometimes in the church we mistake descriptions for prescriptions. And the Bible defines the scriptures explain the scriptures. We don't need to interject our own definitions in it. And I know we're in a culture where things have been done a certain way. It's going to be hard to do it the hard way. But think about it. I always say this: there's nothing that you are good at right now that was easy. You worked hard to be good at whatever you are. If you want your relationship to be good, you have to put that some level of intentionality, that some level of energy and growth into it so that you can reap the high benefits. People are having a hard time because they're taking the easy path. So again, thank you guys. If you guys are not following us, follow us on Instagram, Relationship Essentials. Follow us on YouTube, Relationship Essentials. And you can support us by making big donations, or you can just buy our merch. We have jerseys, we have hats, we have hoodies, we have all kinds of merch that you can buy to support. Our goal is to push kingdom. The culture is pushing their ways of doing things, and that's it. And there's a saying that goes that we need more good people to speak up because the weak people are imposing their weak values and their weak morals on us. It's us that know better that should teach them how to do better. The Bible says, you don't light a candle and hide it. We are the light of the world. We know better. So let us show people how to do better. So this is a challenge to whatever stage of relationship you are in. just ask yourself, am I doing it God's way? If you're not, it's doomed for failure. It's a guarantee. It's gonna fail. Let us do it God's way, and I promise us God is going to bless us in ways that we have not imagined. Thank you guys for coming. And those of us that came out, thank you. Those of us that are watching online, thank you. Thank you to our guest, Shereena. Thank you to Pastor Danny for sharing so much knowledge. This was a blessing. And let's just stick around. We have some food, network, get to know some friends, make some new friends. And anyways, we'll see. Again, we're here every third Wednesday. Say that again. Oh, yeah. Before I even forget. All right, so we have a conference coming up. How many of us would like to see Pastor Danny at the conference? So we have to have a conversation. All right. So we have a conference coming up on August 19th. August 19th, 2023. It's going to be a conference that is, who enjoyed this? Be honest. You enjoyed this conversation, right? It's going to be this on steroids. We are going to have some of the most intelligent minds on relationships, speaking on relationships. And we've already I talked about some of the topics we're going to talk about. Talking about knowing you are becoming the marriage material. We're talking about healing from your past, healing from your pain, healing from your traumas. We're going to talk about, God's design and desire for the family. The topics that we have picked are topics that I promise you will be glad you came out. And we have obviously like some of us that have seen the flyer. We have some dope people that are coming out. Some of the greatest Christian influencers that will be in the room at the conference. So please get your ticket, right? Eventbrite is, if you go on Eventbrite, it's Relationship Essentials Conference. You cannot miss it. Relationship Essentials Conference. Can we all make a commitment to come out to that conference?
Yes.
Can we all make a commitment to come out to the conference? Can we make a commitment to invite a friend? Our goal is to sell out, and our goal is not to sell out to sell out. Our goal is, look, the more people that learn how to do it Kingdom's way, the better for all of us. The better for all of us. So let us push it. When you see the flyer, when you see the videos, push it. Tell as many people as you can. Let us come out, and it's gonna be an all-day thing. We have food, we have games, we have giveaways, we have raffles. It's gonna be such a beautiful day. We have worship. Wait till we drop the lineup for the worship. It's spectacular. Those of us that have been to our worship events, I know we don't play when it comes to worship. So it's gonna be dope. And now we've added Pastor Danny to our lineup, so it's even gonna be better for all of us. So, anyways, thank you guys. I'll see you guys at the conference. For next month, we're not gonna do Connect Night. For next month, we're gonna do the conference, August 19th, and we'll be back in September. Third Fridays of the month, we're here having a conversation about relationship and how God wants us to do it. Thank you, guys. God bless.